Bhaja Govindam Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Jai Ashtottara Sadashri Shriman Bhakta Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Ananda Goni Vaishnava Brother ki Namacharya Shri Vilas Thakur ki Brahma Prabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta ki Shri Radha Krishna Bhava Govindam Shyamkunda Radha Kunda Govardhan ki Vrindavan Dham ki Mayapur Dham ki Madhurapuri Dham ki Jagannathpuri Dham ki Dwarakapuri Dham ki Gangamai ki Yamunamai ki Tulsi Devi ki Bhakti Devi ki Samvedana Bhakta Vrinda ki Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namam Shukadaya Kashaprastaya Gurukale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nidhi Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prajarine Navishesha Shunyavadi Pashadi Reshadarini. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Samsara Sagare Madhvam Niyamam Karunanime Karmakaraveyanam Mam Karavana Srimad Bhagavatam Yogyam Pratyasha Krishnanevahi Sivadosvayana Mukhyam Bhavasagare Manurate Madhyonyam Sabala Sarvada Vayam Nirvine Varavyam Dasoham Tavakeshava Bhave Bhave Yata Bhakti Adayo Savajayate Tatha Purushate Vesha Namasam Noyata Prabho Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarvapapa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkhasanam Tamamami Harim Param Janmadyasya Yatonmaya Vidaradas Chadesho Vidyaswarat Te Brahma Hridaya Adikame Muyakriya Suraya Tejo Varimudam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrusha Dhapna Svena Sada Nirasabhadam Satyam Param Dhimahi Dharma Prochita Gaita Votravarano Brahmatsaranam Sadam Vedyam Vasavamatra Shivadam Asatrayonuhanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamanikrite Kimvapareshwara Satyo Vruddhavarudyate Prakriti Shushushuni Lakshana Nigamakalpadanodayitam Bharam Sudhampadamrudadrava Samyudam Vigata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Murako Rasiya Bhumibhavuka Sachidananda Rupaya Vishorpatyadi Hetave Kavatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namah Yam Pravrajandam Anuveda Veda Krutyam Dvaivayano Virahavadarama Juhava Putreditam Mayadayaktaravo Vinedu Tam Sarvabhugadayam Nimanandosmi Yasvanubhavamahirashudisarametam Adhyamadivamadivideshatam Tamundam Samsarinam Karunayah Puranaguhyam Tam Vyasasudinamuvayami Gurum Muninam Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jeva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudire Kamaniya Kishora Mukhamute Kalavenu Punidavananendo Mahavadi Vijrumbhadamurare Madhurinam Kanika Vika Vika Namo Vishnu Padaya
Jananamitravyam Nama Vande Nandavrajaśrīnām Palayenu Mahishasham Yasam Harikatodgītam Punāni Bhuvanaktrayam Gopi Charanaravindavarmaname Namah Pīdāmbaram Kavirājita Chakrashantam Kaumodani Sarvijam Karunāsamudraм Radhāsavāyam Visundaram Dādāsam Vādālaye Jamanisham Pratibhāvayāmi Koram Pūjayam Vedam Śyāmaloyam Kumaraya Vedavedyaparam Brahma Vasatam Murado Mama Mūkam Karodi Vācālam Pangam Lankayate Girim Yadavātamaham Vande Paramanandamādhavam Shri Krishna Srimati Radhikaye Namah Sarvatra Govinda Nama Sankirtanam Govinda Govinda.
Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Govindamade, Sambhavye Sanjite Kale, Manani Rakshati Yukhrati Karane, Muthajayi Danavagama Krishna, Kuru Sadbuddhim Manasi Krishna, Yellapase Chakramo Bhaktam, Vittantena Vinodaya Sikam, Nari Sarvaramavidesham Drishva Maga Mohavesham Ekanam Sarasadivaram Manasi Chindaya Varam Varam Nalini Dalagata Jalamaditaram Tadvajividam Adishaya Chabayam Vidhivyadi Abhimana Grastam Lokam Shokahatam Chasamastam. So, last Sunday when we discussed Bhaja Govindam, we mentioned few things that how the mind, according to, as Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, that everything begins with the dhyana, isn't it, with the meditation. Krishna says, Dhyayato Vishaya Pumsaya Sangasteshu Vajayate Sangal Sanjayate Kaman Kaman Prabhuvi Jayate. Krishna says how on a step by step that progress happens in our life. First mistake, according to Acharya Swamiji, is that to take that this world is a real thing. That is the first misunderstanding. It begins from there. Every Acharya has accepted this. That to take this real world as a real thing and start from there, all other misunderstanding is building up on top of that. Because once you have accepted it as a real thing, and then the next mistake that will happen from that there will be a lot of objects in this world which gives us happiness to us. And we start feeling attachment to that. That is called raga. This is how raga dvesham builds up inside us. First thing, to accept the world as real. And then to start seeing many objects in this world is going to give me happiness in this life. That is ragam. The ragam started building up immediately. When the very moment you have accepted this as real, then immediately ragam starts working within us. Raga dvesham. Particularly ragam builds up first inside. Or there are certain objects in the world which we see that some of them are attachment developed, to some of them aversion builds up. In other words, some objects we consider or we get attached to it, which is called ragam, and to some other objects we develop aversion, which is is called Dvesham, isn't it? So Raga Dvesham, how did it come to us in the first instance? Because of acceptance of the world as real. That's where it has begun. You will see this throughout the Bhagavatam also, and in other various Vedic literature there is reference to it, that how this Raga Dvesham has come. That Shri Krishna Tulpado Vasanam Abhayadamam Baddha Mithyartha Drishti. Something what is false, that is this world, in their Artha Drishti. Mithya Artha Drishti. Artha Drishti means that to accept that as real, and I have to achieve something here in this world. Some attachment in a very subtle level built up inside. Martyasya manye vivasarati bhayam yena sarva almanaiva. Once that is built up, what will happen? Martyasya manye. The miseries have started from that very moment. For Martya. Martya means one who is dying constantly, whose body is withering away. Our body is withering away after a particular age, isn't it? The withering starts. And then there is, initially it keeps growing, and at a certain point it starts changing, and then afterward there is no growth, it's only destruction from then on. Martyasya manye. What will happen? Vyapasarati bhayam yena sarval anaiva. Vyapasarati bhayam. Bhayam means fear. That fear doesn't go away at that point. It gets strengthened inside. More fear about material existence. Yena sarval manaiva. Sarval manaiva. By all means, that thought becomes strengthened inside. Yattaval tulpranidaniha bhajanamidi astido mohamarge dhavanapya vradakshaha skaladina guhajil deva khilalman. When a situation has happened like that, yattaval tulpranidaniha bhajanamidi. Therefore, great devotees, acharyas, rishis, they have given us a straight process. How to escape from that fear. What is that? Yattaval tulpranidaniha bhajanamidi. That bhajanamidi. Bhajanamidi means the process of practicing Krishna consciousness. They have given to us in a particular pattern how to follow that process. If you follow that way, what will happen? Astido mohamarge. Even if you run through this world, through all other problems of this world, if you walk through that, the chances that you will fall is very little, provided you hold on to this process. Provided you hold on to the process of Krishna consciousness. Skaladi na bhajil devadeva akhilavalman. Skaladi na bhajil. Skaladam means to trip and fall. That is called skaladam. That skaladam won't happen. Even if it falls, Krishna will take care of that. This is the... So there you can see there that this problem what has happened, those objects in this world, whether they are objects or personalities, when they give us distress, we feel dvesham or aversion towards them. And after a while, what happens is, everything in this world, we will only see through ragam or dvesham. We have to have raga dvesham with every object. You can't have a neutral relationship with anyone. That is how it begins. Once you have accepted the world as real, from there, next thing what happens, this all happening in a subtle level inside. We are not even conscious of that, what's happening. We accepted the world as real. When we have accepted the world as real, inside some decision has been made. Mind is making that decision. We are not even conscious of that. What is that decision? Mind is saying to us, these objects are giving me happiness. These objects are giving me problems. Or these persons are my friends. These persons are my enemy. It starts working from that point onwards. That is why it is mentioned like that. Krishna is saying exactly the same thing in Bhagavad Gita. Dhyayalo vishaya pumsan. Then what will happen? Sangasteshu jayate. Exactly. Sangam develops at that point. These are things which requires a lot of analysis. Where did all this start from? We are fighting against raga dvesham every moment in life. Is it not? But we are unable to get rid of it from inside. And we say, I cannot do it. It is very hard. How did it all begin, this first thing? Sometimes people, and we will, Anusandhanam begins. What Shastram calls it as? Anusandhanam. That Anusandhanam is two ways. Anusandhanam in the Shastram one way. Anusandhanam of Ragadvesham also starts. Anusandhanam means to following it up. Once you have developed some Ragam towards someone or Dvesham towards someone, it keeps going on inside, isn't it? Without knowledge, that following it through. That Anusandhanam of Ragadvesham happens after that. Dhyayo Vishaya Pumsan Sangasteshu Vijayade. Krishna is saying that it is in that way that Sangam will get very strongly fixed in that way. Sometimes people ask this question, what's the harm in watching TV? What's the harm in watching TV? Some people will ask that question. There's no harm in watching TV, but if it becomes a habit, and if 365 days, if you keep on watching this TV, what Krishna is saying here is, Dhyayo Vishaya Pumsan Sangasteshu Vijayate. That they know very well who are producing these programs for the television channel, what they are doing, they know, because they have studied Bhagavad Gita. They got this principle very clearly in their mind. They know very well that, that they will create a program in such a way, what we call it as serial. And they will leave you at some point today so that you will come back tomorrow to continue with it again. That is the problem. That is the problem. If you by chance you go through and watch TV for half an hour, it's not going to matter much. But when they have understood the psychology behind it, how our mind operates in this world, how our attachment builds up in this world, they know that. Bhagavad Gita is saying this, Krishna is mentioning this, isn't it? Why? Because of Dhyanam. Dhyanam begins. When Dhyanam begins, what will happen? When Dhyanam begins, the first thing what will happen is Sangam. Sangam will come from that. So the program makers also knows this well. So they will take you to a point every day and leave you there, and you will ask the question, what will happen now? Tomorrow what's going to happen? Next day, same time, went on to the remote and sat in front of that. So, they make us fools. That's what they are doing about that. So, and today we have seen something in the program and the tension from that. Tomorrow what will happen with that program? So, and accordingly, they will create the incidents and the actors and all the characters who act in that, and they will make us start thinking that it is all a real thing, real story in that way. So similarly, so many objects in this world, Dhyayato Vishayaha. Krishna is saying Dhyayato Vishayaha. They know this rule very well. Similarly, and if you keep on showing this all the time, the mind will start its anusandhanam. It will start thinking that it is real. It is real. That is how we started seeing things are real. You can see this example. How did we take this world as real? Because you can see when you watch television even, you are starting accepting things are real. If in television serial, if it can make you feel real, is there any wonder that the world is making you feel it's real? That's the way you have to think. That the television program, while sitting in your comfortable sofa set in the living room and watching the television program, if that is giving you a feeling of reality in this world, what to talk about the world, what is 24 hours you are absorbed with, is there any wonder that you are feeling it as real? Shastras keep on banging, hammering on our head, it is not real, my dear son, it's not real. Jagat Mithya, keep repeating. Upanishads are telling us, Rishis are telling us, Acharyas are telling us, everybody is telling us it's not real. And we still thinking, no, there is a lot of things to be done here. I have so much to do here before I leave this world. Who sent us here that we have to do all these things, everything what we are doing here? So therefore, he mentions here that Anusandhanam will start at that. Anusandhanam means that Sangam has developed inside Sangasteshu vajayate, sangal sanjayate kamam. At that point, attachment, once it has developed, the next thing what will happen is that I want it. I want that. First thing, to think that the world is real, and secondly, because it is the real world, you will start finding some objects attachment, and towards some objects aversion. Ragam towards something, dvesham towards something. Once you have developed the ragam inside, then you want to have those objects within your control. So that is what Krishna calls it as kamam. Sangal sanjayate kamam. Kamam. But we know very well what will happen. It is not possible to get everything what we want in that way, according to fulfill all the desires. Kamam. Krishna is saying to us in the Bhagavad Gita, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogadan. He says there, isn't it? That every karma, Krishna, this karma should not happen inside. If the karma should not develop inside, what do we have to do? We have to look back into it. Why did this karma comes in the first instance? That is because as they say, that the acceptance of the world is real. It has begun from there. And what happens after that? Krishna explains that nobody will be able to achieve every desire what they have. And when we do not get what we want, the emotion that comes from that or the frustration will develop from that. And that frustration will turn into anger, krodham. So, dhyayedo vishaya pumsat sangasteshu vajayate sangal sanjayate kamam. Kamal krodhopi jayate. Krodham or anger will come from that. It's less like children. When they ask for some special toys, what they got attached to or attracted to, if you don't buy it for them, they get upset. They get very angry about that, isn't it? So if you do not give it to them, or sometimes husband and wife also, wife wants something, husband says no, and the wife will say, from the day I got married, it's been like this, they will say. All kinds of issues will come up like this. Why? The same thing, karma, attachment and desire builds up inside in that way. So then from that krodham, the next step what will happen is moham, isn't it? Sangal sanjayate kamam, kamal krodhopi jayate. Krishna is saying from krodham comes moham, samoham. Krodhal bhavati samoham. Samohal smriti vibramam, smriti vibramshal buddhinashal pranashyati. So then, when the smriti vibramsham buddhinasham, Krishna says two things there. What is that thing? That krodhal bhavati samoham. At that point, the Maya has taken complete control over us. That's what it means. At that point, Maya has taken complete control of us. The modes of nature is working very strongly through us in that instance. Krodhal bhavati samoham. Once krodham has come, it means that Maya has taken complete control. Complete control of the modes of nature. In that instance, there is no possibility for intelligence to act, or the mind also cannot act properly with any discrimination. No discrimination at that point. Krodhal bhavati samoha, samoha smriti vibhrama. Smriti vibhrama means what? Forgetfulness of one's own identity, what we are. We have identified with the body totally, and we are thinking that in the body identity, all other extensions of that body, my happiness, such kind of thoughts will come strongly inside, and that is what is called Smriti Bhramsham. Smriti Bhramsham means forgetting what we are. Already we are forgotten, no doubt about that. But it goes to such deeper levels, in the bodily level, it gets so powerful that you will have no thought even that there is a thing called a death, there is a thing called old age, disease, and so many other problems related to the body. All of that thoughts goes away from there. Right then, what you want is your desire must be fulfilled. This thought will come. Smriti Bhramsham it's called. And Smriti Bhramshal Buddhinasham. Intelligence will go. You can't discriminate anymore. And then Krishna says there is nothing much you can do. Pranashyati, fell down at that point. So at that time, we will forget ourselves and we will do things what we should not be doing. We will get involved in that. Little by little, all the intelligence will go. Buddhinashal Pranashyati. Here,
when Krishna says buddhi, he does not mean not in the sense brain. He's not referring to brain. You must remember that. It's not reference to brain. Because practically what Krishna says here is, in order to execute bhakti and in order to engage in the analysis of self-analysis or the self-realization for that purpose and for jnana, meditation, it requires a very special, very subtle level, extremely subtle level Shraddha. Shraddha is necessary. And whatever Shraddha one has for spiritual activities, every spiritual activity requires some Shraddha, isn't it? You know that. Everybody knows who are chanting the holy name also, who knows that. In order that to get up in the morning and to chant Hare Krishna, you need some Shraddha. If you have no Shraddha, you can't chant. You can't do anything in spiritual life. But some Shraddha is necessary in every sadhana in the spiritual life. It's required, otherwise you can't do it. So that Shraddha power inside, that will go away. That is what Krishna is referring here as buddhi. Buddhi nashal pranashari. That buddhi means the Shraddha in us, which is required for cultivation of bhakti or development of bhakti inside, and for knowledge of the self-analysis of the soul. All this requires a Shraddha, and that will completely flow away from the self. It will completely, we lose it totally. We will lose it from inside. Then, once we have lost it completely from inside that Shraddha, the power of Shraddha inside, after that, if you sit even in the satsangam, there is not much of benefit. There won't be much of a benefit after that. Because this is what is our wealth inside, this Shraddha. And that Shraddha, if you make it bankrupt, completely bankrupt, and make us pauper, if you make yourself pauper with that Shraddha, it will completely destroy everything. Everything will be destroyed. And if that Shraddha goes away, due to continuously influenced by the Kama Yesha, Krodha Yesha, Rajoguna Samilbhava, Kamam, Krodham and such things like that, if that Shraddha goes away, Krishna is saying here, that is what Krishna calls it as Buddhi Nasha. Do not think this Buddhi is referring to brain. No, it has nothing to do with the brain. What Krishna mentions in those verses in that second chapter is the Shraddha what you have, what is required for your development inside, for inner development, which means bhakti, jnanam, cultivation of jnanam, bhakti and all other things, sadhana, everything is coming from that. That power for doing that, for developing bhakti, power for developing knowledge, that will go from inside. That Shraddha will go, and that is what Krishna calls it as Buddhi Nashal Pranashari. That Buddhi Nasham is referring to that. Buddhi Nashal Pranashari. So then that person is finished. Then he is only a vegetable. He is only a vegetable. He is worthless then after that. We all have, creating the Shraddha is a very difficult thing. Therefore, in the Vedic system, the Shraddha is what is created in a person from the early days in life. From the early days in life. Why do we say that bring down the Vyavaharam in this world? It's for this reason. Vyavaharam creates Ragadvesham. Vyavaharam creates Kamam, Krodham, Lobham, other things. If they keep on bombarding us day after day, whatever little strength we have for cultivation of spiritual life or cultivation of spiritual knowledge or bhakti, devotion, all that energy will flow away through that, through this channel. And once it has flown through that channel, then it is not possible anymore to give that Shraddha for self-realization. That is finished. That's what Krishna says. After that, that person is just useless. It's nothing we can do with him. Therefore he says, so then everything for him is an existence in this world. Just like the Jadam. That means you have lost the strength of that Chit Shakti. Completely you have become identified with the Jada Shakti. Remember this? It's discussed before also. Chit Shakti Chedana Rupam Jada Shakti Jadalpiya. Ilvasasanam says this. Chit Shakti in the Chedana Rupam. In everybody, that Chit Shakti in the form of Chedana. And Jada Shakti, Jadalmiyam. Jada Shakti will make Jadalmiyam. It makes us Jadam in that way. So, therefore, these three things we have to know that they are our enemies. If you look into the third chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, how does Krishna puts it? Krishna says there, Kamayesha, Krodhayesha, Rajoguna, Samulbhava. Isn't it? 337. Shri Bhagavan Vacham Kamayesha Krodhayesha Rajoguna Samulbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyenam Iha Vairinam. Vidyenam Iha Vairinam. Krishna says that Vidyenam Iha Vairinam. These three things, we have no enemies outside. That's a misunderstanding. There's no enemies outside. And they can't do anything against you. The enemies outside can't do anything. The enemies outside, they can't do anything against you. What Krishna is saying, Kamayesha, Krodhayesha, Rajoguna, Samulbhava. Rajoguna, Samulbhava. Maha Ashanam, Maha Papnam, Vidyenam, Iha Vairinam. Krishna says. Maha Ashanam. What is Ashanam? Ashanam means hunger. Ashanam means hunger. This Rajogunam, Kamam, Krodham and Rajogunam, all these three things, once it comes in a person, it will swallow you very easily, very fast, much faster rate. It will just swallow you. And Mahashanam, Mahapapnam, Vidyenam, Iha. Therefore, Krishna says, beware of this, he says to Arjuna. Arjuna, take notice of this. Be very conscious of this. That if you have fallen victimized to these three, then you will become very easily swallowed up by that power, and then there is no possibility of doing anything. Then you will lost, all the power is gone inside. Our Shraddha goes away through that. So, actually, people outside are our friends. They are not our enemies. They do us a lot of favor. And those friends who are doing us a lot of favor, they are our enemies actually. They are our enemies. And because those who are doing hell or things like that, they are actually enemies. Because the enemies, whom do they hate? They hate our body. They don't know us, isn't it? They hate our body. This form, name and form, is what they don't like. When you see somebody's name and form, that's what's creating the problem inside, isn't it? So, so when they hate our body, when they hate our presence or name or form, they are doing us a great favor, because by doing that, our dehabhimanam or pride in our own body will take it away from us. That we also will feel that some person is having this difficulty with me, or they don't looking at me in this way, or talking about me in this way. That way, dehabhimanam will go away from this. Because all the great souls, when you told them about the problems with this world, what they have told, the answer they have given was, it is a favor. It's a favor they are doing to us. For one reason only, that if somebody is scolding us or insulting us or speak to us in an offensive way, we should do is to join them and start talking against us in the same way, like Pakanav did. Pakanav did exactly the same thing. What did Pakanav do? Pakanav was walking around. He was so poor, he had no money to buy any food. So one fruit vendor, he was selling fruits in one of these trolleys. He was carrying the fruits and he was selling. He stood there and looked at the fruits. He's starving. He has nothing inside. And he thought for a moment. The mind is telling, don't take it, the food from inside. The mind is saying to him, it's wrong to steal the food like that, to eat it. He ultimately, because the hunger was so strong inside, the food vendor has left the trolley there and he has gone somewhere else to do something. He took a few bananas and he ate it because he couldn't bear it anymore. By chance, the fruit vendor came back, the seller. He came back and he saw Pakanav eating the fruits happily and standing there. And he knew that Pakanav had no money to pay. So he started scolding Pakanav, saying to him that, what are you doing? You're paying, and started beating him for not paying. So Pakanav says to beat him more, he said. I've told him before not to take it, but still he has gone and done it. In other words, within himself, he is thinking that he is doing me a favor. This fruit salesman, fruit vendor is doing me a favor because he has made me realize this body, what it is worth. Body is demanding throughout life something or the other, all through the life, isn't it? In different forms of happiness, it is expecting from the world, from other people, and different happiness. If it doesn't come, it gets angry. And when it gets angry and if it goes to the extreme, what Krishna says there, that krodhalbhavati samohas mohas. So all these things, where does it happen? It happens due to the mind and the body. Pakanar's realization was such, this body is responsible for all these things. So he says to the person, you give him a little bit more, so that he will not do the same thing again. That is the way self-realized soul will look at these things. Self-realization is like that. That when self-realization happens, you will see your own body as your problem. Because this body has created all the problems for us, isn't it? From all through the life. Why are we have to work so hard in this world? For the body. Why do we have to create all the relationships in this world? For the body. Why do we have to create all the upset so many people? For the body. So everything, if you start looking at it, you will see for the sake of the body, you have to deal with all this vyavaharam in this world has come from this body. And it is that body attachment that is where this has all come from. This has all come from. So he says here, no, because when they insult us and when they talk to us in that way, that is the time to think, I am not this body anyway. Who are they insulting? The body. They don't know the soul. They don't know anything about the personality. Namarupam they are insulting, the name and the form. That's what they are insulting. That's what they are beating. That's what they are trying to control. But once we have come to the firm conclusion, I am not this body, and if we remove that from our realization, from our understanding in Bodham, where Bodhamandalam is called. Bodhamandalam means the plane of awareness. The plane of awareness. It is in awareness all these things are happening. And it is, if we remove that from the plane of awareness, then soul will manifest its own way. Its own way. It is the body that is blocking from the soul manifesting in our awareness. It is the body that is blocking the manifestation of the soul in our awareness. If you remember that, then you will constantly, if you accept everything in this world coming against you. There were, if you look into some of the history of this, some of these great Mahatmas, you will see what all they went through in their life to come to this realization. It was not every day chanting, dancing, feasting. Their life wasn't like that. It has gone through very, very severe austerities, penances. Plus, added to all that, a lot of insults and a lot of criticism from the society. Society has given them really hard time before they have reached that stage. Afterwards, when they come to that stage and they become Mahatma and all, people have gone and putting garlands on them, touching their feet, glorifying them. That has happened much later. The very society has dealt with them very severely in their early years in spiritual life. Jnanananda Saraswati, one famous sannyasi, so learned he was in the Vedanta, Upanishads and realizations also, had no food to eat, used to wander around. And somewhere on a street he found, near a temple, the temple was offering some prasadam to the poor people who were coming to the temple that day. So he was hungry and he had no plate to collect the food from the place where it was given. But he was starving and he had nothing inside and walking around in the street thinking that where he will get some food to eat. Because his body is asking, what can you do? It was at that time, in one shop, vegetable shops, there was a lot of banana leaves stacked. And he had no money to buy a leaf or anything. By what we call the providence, Krishna's arrangement, a cow that was passing through saw the leaf Cow doesn't know whether it is a shop or what. As soon as it saw the leaf, it put its mouth and pulled one out from that and started it. By the time the shopkeeper came, the cow has already pulled out a few leaves from that bundle what was kept there for sale. And the cow pulled out and started eating. By chance, the cow left something back. From there, he pulled out one small piece from there and went out to get the prasadam with that. Such things they have gone through. And this personality he had in later times in his life. At the age of 90 and 91, he was writing his commentary on Brahma Sutra. So imagine how much thoughts inside, in spite of all the problems of this world. We complain if we don't get prasadam one time, isn't it? We think, oh, the whole system has broken down, we say. It's not working. This is our spiritual life. And if you look back into many of these great devotees, great jnanis, all of them, you will see there, before they attained that stage, what they had to go through. This very world, which is worshipping them now, glorifying them, has put them through such severe tests and punishments before they were given that recognition in a later date. So therefore, Krishna is saying here that if we take it that way, what will happen is that from our awareness, Bodhamandala means the plane of awareness, from that awareness that this body has gone away, naturally the soul will come. In a natural way it has to happen. Afterwards, nobody can do anything to you. No insult will have any effect on us. No insult will have any effect on us. Sukadeva Goswami was insulted. People were saying, and Rishabhadeva was insulted. You know that in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Tathaya Maharshi was insulted. But nothing will touch because in the plane of awareness the body has gone. Remember Jadabharata's case. Jadabharata, the three men who were carrying the palanquin for Rahugana, they wanted a good strong man. They thought Jadabharata fits in very well, good strong body and tall. They were looking for the fourth person. And he so realized self, absolutely nothing to do with the body. They pulled him, come here, they said to him. He went with them. And the fourth side of the palanquin has got four corners, the four extensions of the palanquin. The fourth one, they put it on his shoulder. Hold it, he said. They said to him. They were treating him that he was saying, that's how the world is. And on the top is sitting Rahugana nice comfortably in his palanquin. He's sitting there. And then after a while, he is not walking properly. All the three are walking okay. But this fourth man who has joined, he is looking every step. Is there any living entity I am putting my feet on? If you walk like this, the palanquin won't go very far, would it? So, a few minutes happened. The three people complained to Rahugana. Rahugana was saying, why is it not going very fast? So they say to Rahugana, the man we have got now, the fourth one, he is no good, he is useless, he said. So Rahugana opens the door of the palanquin and says to him, what's wrong with you? He says. It is, in the Bhagavatam you should read that. So Rahugana says that, do you know what you are doing? Do you know who I am? This is the way he is starting his conversation. And he said, if I come out of this, I will teach you some lesson, he says. To Rahugana is saying to, imagine disciples saying to Guru, this is what can happen. Nowadays they don't do like that, they take them to the court. That's what's happening now. You'll see now, some disciples have taken some gurus to the court. It's happening everywhere now. Not one, many instances now. They're saying Guru is not behaving properly. Guru is saying, these disciples are no good, he said. So what is the use of this Guru-disciple business? What is going to happen? Neither of them have any idea what is going on in their spiritual life. There are few cases now in the court between the disciples and the Guru. Guru is saying that they are useless, they are no use. And disciples are saying the Guru is not behaving properly, they have taken them to the court. So anyway, it has happened in the past also, not today only. Then also, only difference was that in Rahugana's case, Rahugana heard all this, said all this to Jadabharata. And then only a few words which came from Jadabarada's mouth was sufficient because Rahugana was very cultured. He was so cultured and he was knowledgeable. The only problem Rahugana had was he had bodily identification. That was the difficulty. He has not got over that. Because of that he has spoken all this. That is why Jadabarada, when he decided to talk to Rahugana, he thought about it. Should I talk to him or not? Is it worthwhile talking to him? Says Bhagavatam. After thinking about it, he decided, he felt that this person has got few qualifications. One thing, he has studied Shastra well and understood everything. And then he is a king. That means he is genuinely serious about what he is doing. He is going to Kavilashramam to get spiritual instruction. That means he is a serious student as well. Shraddha is there. The only problem he has got is, he has no realizations. Rahugana tapasanayadi na chejaya manuvapana grihadva na chandasa nevajala nisuryo vinama halpada rajobhishekam. In the Bhagavatam you will see this. Rahugana, he says to Rahugana tapasanayadi, not by this realization won't come by studying or by any other means except na chandasa naivajala agni suryo vina mahalpa darajo bhishekam. Unless you take the shelter of a mahalpa, of a great soul, this will not happen. And before Bharat Maharaj said all these things to Rahugana, Rahugana jumped out from the palanquin and fell at the feet of Jadabarada's feet. And if you look at the words what Rahugana has spoken, you can see how glorious nature he had. Even though he committed a mistake like this to Jadabarada, he still did not feel any difficulty in completely falling down at his feet and asking for forgiveness for what he has done. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this Jadabarada story is one of the most prominent ones. Why is it so prominent? Because Jadabarada and Shukadeva Goswami, they are identical personalities. Both of them have a similar nature. So when it came to the story, telling the story of Jadabarada, Shuka Brahmarshi was at his extreme happiness. Because it's his own way of saying, he feels so much closeness with him in everything. Shuka Brahmarshi never felt that either with the talking about the gopis or talking about the Vritrasura's case or Ambarish Maharaj's case. No. When it comes to Jadabarada's story, Shuka Brahmarshi feels some extreme pleasure inside, happiness inside, because they belong to the same group, isn't it? The same, that renunciation, knowledge and realization, everything on a very, very, very high level. So seeing that Jadabarada's state, he is spoken that way. So that's why it mentions there that Krodham, what he mentions that when the world, so all the great Mahatmas, they had to go through this. They had to, afterwards they became Mahatma at a much later date. Is it not? Much later date, at their old age, girls started recognizing them, saying that, oh, he has done this wonderful thing, he is this big, that big, and so many things we say about them. But initially the world hasn't given any, because the world is like that. That's the way the world is. So, that is why it mentions there, if you look into the verse 26, in the Bhaja Govindam prayers, what he mentions there, Kamam, Krodham, Lobham, Moham, Tektu Atmanam, Bhavaya Koham. Ajay Swami says here, Kamam, Krodham, Lobham, Moham. Tektva almanam bhava yakoham. Almanyana vihina mudha. Te pachyande naragani mudha. So a few lines, but a lot of message through that. Kamam krodham lobham moham. Tektva almanam bhava yakoham. Almanyana vihina mudha. Te pachyande naragani mudha. He says that kamam krodham lobham moham tektva. That has to be given up. And Atmanam Bhavaya Koham. Self-inquiry must begin. Who I am. That inquiry must come from within. Who am I? That inquiry must come. Almajnana vihina mudha. One who has no knowledge of the soul, he is a mudha. He is a stupid person. He has no idea what he is. Almajnana vihina mudha. Te pachyante naraga niguda. The only thing what we can do with him is that he should be put into a lot of miseries and distress in this world, so that eventually he will be prepared for, through hellish way, he has to be trained. He has to go through that, so that cooking through the miseries of this world, so that eventually he will come to his senses. In order to bring a person to the senses, that's the only way. If people say that, well, I don't believe in this, I don't believe, whether you believe it or not, what's the point? We believe, we don't believe, we believe in so many things, so what? Shastram is Shastram, isn't it? You can't question these things because Almajnana Vihina Mudha, that's what he's saying there. Almajnana Vihina, one who has no knowledge of the soul, he is Mudha, he is nothing different than that. That's the point he's stressing there. Kamam moham loham moham tektu almanam bhavayatoham Almajnana Vihina Mudha te pachyade naraka nibudha. That he has to be treated properly. When a child is not listening, what do? You have to beat him up, isn't it? You have to give him a few, otherwise he is not going to listen. He is so obstinate that he is not going to listen. The children sometimes are like that. They will not listen. Sometimes you have to give one or two to listen, to make them listen. Of course, the modern world, that's not allowed also. So you have to say to them nicely, otherwise you have to invite the, what do they call the, if you do that, next day morning social people will be there to attend to you. They think you have got the problem. They don't have a problem. Children don't have the problem. So all these misunderstandings. Anyway, so he says here, that's what saying. We say that so many things has to be given up. Kamam has to be given up. Krodham has to be given up. Lobham, lust, anger, greed, everything has to be given up. But you have to ask, how do I give up all these things? That's the next question. What will come, isn't it? So, so that is why it mentions here that first step we have to hold on to this. That Krishna mentions, that is what you have to connect that with the Bhagavad Gita. How Bhagavad Gita is telling us how this has happened. Krishna says here, if you keep on thinking about objects, if you allow objects to get inside, the problem has started from there. That's where everything has begun. So in the very first instance, if you did not allow any objects or a person to get inside, then it will not create any problem later. Objects means sense objects. That can be material objects or can be personalities also. Vyakti, individuals in that sense. So either personalities or objects in this world, if you don't allow them to get inside, then it won't happen. But if it gets inside, if you keep on meditating on that, thoughts get centered around that, it will get deeper and deeper inside. And it is like that all the objects in this world have got inside us. Every object in this world, wherever you are feeling attachment or aversion, they got inside us by thinking about them. If you have not thought about them, never allowed them to get inside, they would not have got inside. So the first thing is not to allow any more new things to get in. Old things what is already got in, you can't do anything now. It's very difficult now to get it out from there. But at least to stop new things getting in, that is where Vairagyam comes, renunciation. Why all these things? Everything is happening on a very subtle level in spiritual life. We don't take notice of all the subtle instructions. We like the gross side of it, isn't it? If we have good singing, music, dancing, everything is interesting. Spiritual life is very good. As soon as you say something very subtle thing, nobody wants to hear about it. They think, oh, it's all too much. So I'm not made for that, or something like that. People will say like that. But if these subtle things are taken seriously, then you will see that spiritual life also becomes a lot easier. Is it? Lot easier inside us. So whatever that has gone inside already, it's no point in fighting with that anymore. It's no point in fighting with that anymore. Only thing what you can do, it will keep on biting you now and then, so just accept it. When it bites you, just accept it. Because what has happened is, that over a long period of time it has come in, got inside. And now and then it will give you a bite. Everything in this world, whether it is husband, wife, children, grandparents, grandchildren, doesn't matter, or boss in the office or anybody, whomever you have to deal with in this world, they all will come and give you a bite, one way or the other, wherever you have developed attachment. And this attachment will develop in this way, ragam or dvesham, whatever it is, they come and bite you, and there's nothing you can do. You can't take them out from inside now. It has gone so deep, strongly inside. But at least we cannot allow new things to get in again. That is possible. If we take care of these things, that's why he mentions here that if you do not allow new things to get in, the old ones, in course of time, they will disappear. Over a period of time, they will go. Due to the changes that happens in our life and the changes that happens in their life, that will go away from inside. Everything, matter, this is the very nature of the matter. If you understand that, then you won't have a problem with that. This very nature of the matter is like that. What is the nature of the matter? On its own, it will get destroyed and go. That's the beauty of the matter. No matter will stay here permanently. Over a period of time, it will get destroyed. Sometimes you can look at your own life, while in your working life, how you had to deal with different people in the offices. And sometimes you work in one office, and somebody whom you could not get along very well, he has given you a lot of trouble in the office while working there. And due to various circumstances, and while you were working, it was always a problem. It was giving you a lot of trouble inside. And you start thinking, what should I do now in the office? And because you have to work with him, and the person is very difficult, your prarabdham is coming through him basically. That's what it is. But because we can't recognize that at that point in time, we will have to tolerate it for sight. But you will notice one thing. Once you have changed your job, move to somewhere else, and over a period of time, you are able to forget that, isn't it? That is the beauty of matter. Asat also has some beauty in there. When it keeps changing, and nothing will hold on to you very strongly. It can go on its own. And in a normal way, it gets destroyed with inside. And all of them, they get destroyed on their own. For example, you had some personal enmity or personal difficulty with someone in the office or somewhere else. After a while, you will see that disappears. It doesn't last for a very long time. With a little bit of care, if you handle that, after a while it will disappear in some or the other. Krishna will put you in such a situation that you may not have to deal with that person anymore, or take us out from that situation somehow. That is an advantage with the matter. It is not Sat, it is Asat. So Asat has got this one nature that it can get destroyed on its own. Because it is like that, because all the objects are like that, because of the very same reason, when they are disappearing, the mind also inside will surrender. Mind also will surrender inside. Mind is not going to go perpetually like that. When we are feeding the mind all the time with various things, and that's how the mind is growing. But that mind will come to its own senses. After a while, it will start seeing this reality. Mind will start making the discrimination within. That it is pointless to create this ill feeling towards others. But rather, leave everything. And once you move away from that sense object or the object that's giving the problem, then the mind also will come to its senses. Because we continuously feed the mind, and mind will not surrender. If you feed the mind will create more. It will widen the scope. It will make it grow further. So therefore, no point in going to fight with the mind. You will never win. You will never win. So only thing is what you can do in that situation, that when such a thing happens, that you take a different step at that point. Move your step in another direction. And that is those steps what Prahlada is talking about in the Bhagavad. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam, So Vishaya Dhyanam means getting absorbed in the thoughts of this world, in objects, in personalities and all other things in this world, and getting absorbed that, pull the mind out from that and put the mind into Satsangam, into hearing, into glorifying Krishna, Kirtanam, Vishnu's Paranam, remembrance of Krishna. If you do that, they will go there, or they will lose their strength and go away. They will go on its own. What is causing disturbance for the mind from the world, the easiest way to come out of that, to move on to the Satsangam. Satsangam will take it away. And that is what Acharya Swami says in the next verse. 27, if you look, you will see what he says. So, in the 26th verse he said, Kamam krodham lobham moham tektva bhavaya koham almanyana vihina mudha te pachyante narakanigudaha. And then he says, in order to get out of them, Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram Dheyam Shripadi Rupavadasram Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam Deyam Dina Janaya Chamittam. That is the solution to the problem. After saying those Kamam Krotham Lobham Moham Tektvalmanam Bhavaya Koham Atmajnana Vihina Mudha Te Pachyante Narakanikuda. He says there, the solution to the problem is that if one is intelligent, if he is getting bitten by the world a lot due to these problems, Kamam, Krotham, Lobham, Moham and all sorts of things, Acharya says there, Gayam Gita, study Bhagavad Gita. That is the solution to the problem. If we don't study Bhagavad Gita, proper understanding of spiritual life is not possible. Simply not possible. It is no point in saying that I have got this initiation done, I have got this, I am doing this sadhana, I am doing that. That's all fine. But what keeps us track on spiritual life is Bhagavad Gita. If you ignore Bhagavad Gita and not study Bhagavad Gita, that's why it says here, Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram, Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram, Dhyeyam Shripadi Rupavadasram, Neyam Sajjana Sangaye Chittam, Deyam Dina Janaya Javittam. Few things he mentions there. First thing, study Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the key, our ABC as we say in spiritual life, isn't it? Everything is packaged in the Bhagavad Gita so well. Krishna has given us this most wonderful literature of the world, Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita, along with that Bhagavad Gita, Nama Sahasram, chant the holy name of Vishnu, Krishna's holy names. Two things he is saying. You have to chant the holy name and you have to study the Bhagavad Gita as well, together. Because without studying Bhagavad Gita, if you simply say chanting the holy name, that will purify no doubt, but it will take a long time. Time involved will be very long. Whereas by studying Bhagavad Gita, with understanding of Bhagavad Gita, when it chants the holy name, the reaction, the result is faster, a lot faster. Dhyam Shripadi Rupavadasram, he says. So here you can see Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. So little by little, move the mind away from the sense objects. Mind has this nature, it goes in two directions. Normally if you observe the mind, you will see, mind goes in two directions. Sometimes it's like a fly. And we say that the mind of the devotees is normally like a bee. Those whose mind, ordinary people, those who are not serious about spiritual life, their mind is like a fly. But the fly, it goes into the dirty water in the sewer lines. It goes and sits there also, and it goes and sits in the flowers also. In both places, it goes and sits, isn't it? So, in other words, it sits in the ditch. It sits in the beautiful flowers where it goes and smells that as well. In other words, in good things and in the bad place, ordinary people's mind, they go in both places, isn't it? But that is the nature of the fly. But bee doesn't go and sit in those places. Bee only sits in the flowers, good flowers, where it has got good smell and something where it can get that from. So we have to change this fly-like mind into a bee-like nature. Into a bee-like nature. Upanishad says, Shubha Shubhabhyam Margabhyam Vadanti Vasanasari Parushena Prayatnena Yojana. I mean, Shubha Shubhabhyam Margabhyam. Shubham Ashubham, auspicious and inauspicious things. In both ways it can go. Vindanti Vasanasari. How does it go into good way and bad way? Because of the vasanas inside. According to the flow of the vasanas inside, it will go in the good way, it will go in the bad way. But Shubha Shubhabhyam Margabhyam Vadanti Vasanasari. But Paurushena Prayatnena Yojana, that those people who are with their strength, who have got the strength of mind, who have got the determination, they should move away and take always the mind in the right direction. Not allow the mind to go into the ditch water. Rather, it should always seek the association of sadhus or the devotees and stay in their association all the time. By doing that, they will get protected. So, Krishna, the first step is that Krishna says, Shanai Shanai Ruparame, in the 6th chapter, you will see that. That Shanai Shanai, little by little, you should bring it back into the auspicious way. So, initially, the old vasanas may come and give you some trouble in the beginning. The old vasanas will come and give you trouble. But because so many lifetimes we were sitting like this, isn't it, in this conditioned world, and that conditioning is very strong there. Therefore, in some times, we may have to make some adjustments in the sadhana process. In the sadhana process. Anushtanam, in other words, it's called Anushtanam. So, he mentions here, Gyayam Gita Nama Sahasra. Anushtanam is for this purpose. Not only that it protects you at that particular time from doing something wrong, in addition to that, it is also makes an armor around you from the influence of the world outside. How does that happen? Here in the verse it says Gyayam Gita. Now sing Bhagavad Gita. Singing means not that to sing like a musician Bhagavad Gita all the time. That's not what's expected. What it means is bring that Bhagavad Gita into experience in life. Otherwise it's no use simply studying all the verses and memorizing them. But if it's not coming to one's own life, then it is no use, isn't it? So that's what he says here, that studying Bhagavad Gita in such a way, understanding the tattva of Bhagavad Gita properly, and accepting that process what Krishna has spoken in the Bhagavad Gita, get that clarity of the instructions what Krishna has given in the Bhagavad Gita, and in one's own sadhana, bringing it inside and similarly chanting the holy name. So, continuous chanting of the holy name and absorption in Bhagavad Gita. These are the two things these prayers are talking to us. Gyayam Gita Nama Sahasram. That constantly remembering Krishna's instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, bringing that into object of meditation, and simultaneously chanting the holy name continuously. So mind will go and it will go in different directions. There is no question about that. When you will notice this, that how good this mind is in thinking about everything else in this world except Bhagavad Gita. Have you noticed how good it is? It is so good that it can bring you back all the information from America, Europe, Australia, everywhere, what's going on all around the world. And all those thoughts will very perfectly it will bring in you while chanting the holy name. But ever have you tried to remember some Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna has spoken? Does the mind anytime bring that while chanting? Never. It never does that. So you can see that the problem with the mind is, it will go in different directions, And in very dead, just like what they do, when I mentioned this before also, when now after the elephants have been trained well, they have to take the elephants through the streets sometimes. When it comes out of the temples or from the forest also, sometimes they have to take them through the streets. So many instances, these elephants, they can eat a lot, isn't it? There's so much food they want. You feed them a lot, still if they see something nice, they won't ask anybody, they'll just extend their trunk and pull it out. So all these mahals who are controlling these elephants, they have a big problem when they take the elephants through these streets. On both sides of the streets there are shops, fruit shops, vegetables and things. And elephants are very fond of fruits, some particularly bananas, they are very fond of that. So the bunch of bananas will be hanging around all sides. And the elephants passing through, when they see that, even before the mahal says, the whole thing will be inside the mouth. He'll pull the whole thing and put it inside the mouth. And then he has to pay for the whole thing. It's not one or two bananas, it's a whole bunch, hundreds of them. So what they do, because they know that no matter how many times they instruct the elephant won't listen. Even well-trained elephants, they won't listen. So what they do, before they start the journey, they will give a lot of this kind of food, what the elephants eat in a very peaceful state. That means when you park them somewhere and put this food, just the leaves of certain types of trees, so huge bundles they will cut them and stick them between their trunk and the tusk, and they will stick it between that two. So once it is stuck there, they can't live, because elephant is thinking, when I get to the destination, I'll put all these leaves outside and I'll stand there quietly and peacefully chew it for hours and hours. He will eat them standing there, and he wants that. So because it is in the hand, the mahout knows that the elephant will not go after the fruits in the shops. That's how they protect the elephant from creating problems. So in a similar way, very much similar to that, the mind also, you have to give something to the mind first. And this chanting process is for that purpose. You give it to the mind to chant. If you keep on chanting, eventually what will happen is that the mind will take it on as a food. It needs something. And chanting is mainly with this intention that the mind, once it gets absorbed in the chanting, then it will not normally go in other directions. The chanting process will become very strongly grounded inside. That's why chanting is important. It's no point in studying Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam without any sadhana. Not doing sadhana, that is going to be very cumbersome and will create trouble also later, because you will see that frustration building up inside. All these two things, if you remember, Edu dharmyamritamidam, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter. Edu dharmyamritamidam. Dharmyamritam means that process what Krishna has spoken in the Bhagavad Gita, in order that should happen inside. Krishna says sadhana is necessary. Without sadhana it won't happen. It is no point in knowing things, but it has to become a part of us. It has to become our realizations, isn't it? In order that it has to become realization, two things has to happen same time. On the one side, strong sadhana. On the other side, good realizations, reflection on the Shastra. Two things has to go side by side. Therefore, Dheyam Sajjana Sangechitam. If it is finding difficult with the sadhana, some sadhana must be there in everybody's life. And the increased sadhana is still good. At the same time, in order to get that inspiration for the sadhana, what is why he says in that verse, Sajjana Sangam. He says there, isn't it? That Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam, not allow the mind to get absorbed in the world. So even if you can't do anything, at least not allow the mind to go outside. Keep it in the samsanga. Keep it in the Sajjana Sange Chittam. That is the escape route. You never know how this will work, because it's very difficult to explain that. Rather than sitting at home and absorbing in television or any other things in this world. If you simply allow them be in the presence of the discussions of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, even if nothing has made any impact inside, at least it will protect you from unwanted things getting in. At least at that time, it is a protection for the mind. That's what he's saying here. That Gayam Gita Nama Sahasram. First chanting the holy name. Of course, it also refers to 1,000 names of Vishnu Sahasranam. But equally important, chanting the holy name. Gayam Gita Nama Sahasram. Dhyayam Shripadi Rupam Ajasram. Some people, they are capable of remembering the form of Krishna. Shripadi Rupam Ajasram. Krishna's form. Various forms of Krishna. Deity form or any other picture form, whichever one has attraction of Krishna. If one is able to keep that form inside, that is also an engagement for the mind. But out of the remembrance of the form and chanting the holy name is more powerful and easier. There is no doubt about it. Chanting the holy name and giving the engagement for the mind through the holy name is an easier process and more effective also. Otherwise it is very difficult to meditate on a particular form of Krishna all the time. It's not so easy. So Bhagavad Gita on the one hand, inside, and on the other hand the holy name. Acharya Swami is saying there, if those two things are going on inside, and if there is still something lacking inside, to take the association of devotees, and here Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam all the time. Neyam sajjana sange chittam, deyam dina jana vaja vittam. And to free oneself from the burden of this world, if there is money piling up by some reason, spend it away in some way, whatever you feel is appropriate. That is what he says there. Deyam dina jana vaja vittam, give it to those who needs them. So here, so therefore, the mind and sajjana sange chittam. So sajjana sangam, Krishna also stressed this in the Bhagavatam, is it not? So if you try to, never try to control the mind with your willpower, it will not work. Because mind is under the control of the material nature. And it is through this instrument mind, material nature is controlling us. Now you are fighting with against the mind. What does that mean? It means that you are fighting against the nature. Fighting against the material nature. And that you will never win. How do you know that? So that you have to look into Ramayana. You will see there what happened. In Ramayana, there is an interesting story. Bali, Sugriva and Ramachandra together. Bali was very, very powerful. And this Bali got a benediction from a great sage that whoever comes to fight with him, all his strength will go to Bali. Bali will get all his strength. So you cannot win over Bali any time. It was impossible. So similarly, you have to remember, this mind inside is like Bali. We are feeding him everything and he gets the strength from me and he is fighting against me. I am fighting against him. Every time, if you understand this, this is why that story in the Ramayana is spoken. Only for this reason, to make us understand how the mind inside us, like Bali, you keep feeding the mind everything and he gets strength all the time and you have to go and fight against him. This is exactly the situation what's happening inside us. So, you can never, the only way to escape from that is Sajjana Sanghe Chittam. To absorb in the association of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the shelter. So, go and sit inside and hearing about Krishna, understand the Tattva. Even if one sleeps in there, doesn't matter. It is still better. but never to sit in the association of those who are not interested in spiritual life. Then it is degradation. Always you have to know how to escape from that as quickly as possible. From those who are engaged in the mundane life in this world. So, because even in that situation, you are getting, in the association, you are always getting purified inside. Because at least at that time you won't talk nonsense, or you won't watch the TV, or anything like that, or newspaper, anything, whatever it may be. So, Neyam, that is why, Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. If you look into Bhagavatam, the type of people who had satsangam, remember Krishna mentions there. You look into the verses, it's very interesting. And you start wondering, what Krishna is talking about? All these people had satsangam. He gives a list of people. If you look in the 12th chapter, he says there that Shri Bhagavan Vacha Satsangena hi daideyam Yadudhanaha Mrigaha Khagaha Gandharvaha Apsaraso Nagaha Siddhaha Charanaha Mukhyagaha Vidyadaraha Manushyeshu Vaishyaha Shudraha Striyoha Andyajaha Rajastama Pragradayaha Tasmin Yuge Anaghaha. Why does Krishna say like this? Did you see what Krishna is talking about there? He says, all these people, he has categorized everybody there. Who all? It says, Yadu Sasangehi Daideyo Yadudhanaha Mrigaha Khagaha. Daityas, the Asuras, demons, Rakshasas. And then he says, Mrigaha Khagaha. Mriga means animals, and birds, and Gandharvas, Apsaras women, Nagas, Siddhas, Charanas, Mutakas. Practically all different species. He has brought them underneath them. Then who else? Vidyadharas, Manusha, our cat species. Vaishyas and Shudras, women and Andyajaha. So, similarly, he says here that Andyaja means Chandalas and who are from a very lower birth, in that sense, lower birth. And why did he say all these people? Because all of them are under the lower modes of nature, Rajogunam and Tamogunam. That is their Prakriti. Krishna is saying here, Rajastana Prakritaya. Their Prakriti is Rajasa and Tamasa. Yeah? Because their Prakriti, their nature is Rajasa and Tamasa, there is not much of a hope for them to take the shelter of Bhagavad Gita or even Vedic literature of Upanishads or anything. It's difficult for them because of their Prakriti is against them. Their Prakriti. Remember when Kaliya was beaten, Krishna subdued Kaliya, and after dancing on top of Kaliya for quite a long time, Kaliya vomited blood. And ultimately Kaliya's wives and children and grandchildren, they all came and they paid their respects to Krishna and told Krishna to spare him from killing him. So Krishna came out and Kaliya by now was completely exhausted by vomiting blood, and every step what Krishna has put on him was like the whole planet, universe was falling on the head. It was so heavy on him. Only thing he was not dying, that's all. Because of the power, yoga power Krishna has. So Krishna kicked him so strongly that Kaliya felt exhausted. And then Kaliya's wives and children glorified Krishna a lot. After that, Krishna didn't say anything. And then he looked at Kaliya and Kaliya looked at Krishna. And Kaliya says to Krishna, was this all necessary to do this to me? So Krishna says, because you have given so much trouble to all the people here, nobody can come and bathe in the Kalani river because of your person, and people can't even come through this way, they are frightened of you. You should not be doing this here. Kaliya says to Krishna, is it my fault? He says, you have put this tamogunam in me. I didn't ask for it, but you have put it in me. Now you have given me tamogunam and you want me to behave like a saint, is that possible? Kaliya is asking Krishna. Krishna had no answer to that. Kaliya asked that question to Krishna. You have put this tamogunam in me and you want me to behave like a saint. How is that possible? He said. So Krishna smiled at that time. So that's why Krishna is saying here also, all these people whom he has mentioned here, they are all not in the mode of goodness. They all have rajogunam, tamogunam in them. So he says there, Rajastama Prakritaya Tasmin Yuge Anagaha. They have all escaped due to having satsangam. They have all escaped, Krishna is saying there. So Krishna is pointing out this one thing to us. If there is one process which is easy in this world for spiritual life, to make progress in spiritual life, he says this process of satsangam is the one I would refer to you, Uddhava, he says to him. And then he says, Bahavo Malpadam Prana, Malpadam Prapta, Twashtra, Kayatha Vadaya. And he gives the example, many people have come back to me, Krishna says. How? Twashtra Kayatha Vadaya. Twashtra Kayatha Vadaya. Then, who is Twashtra? Twashtra is Twashtra's son Lutrasura. He was an Asura, isn't it? He had come back to me through Salsangam, he says. Through Salsangam he came back. Who had a Salsangam? He had, as Chitraketu, he had Salsangam with Lord Balaram, Sankrishna Murti. And he had also had Salsangam with Narada Maharshi. So, due to association with Sri Narada Maharshi and Sankrishna Murti, that stayed in Chitraketu. That's why when he became Vritrasura, the power of that Salsangam has not left him. It followed him in the next life. You see how that happened? That power of association what he had with Narada Maharshi and Lord Balaram, Sankrishna Murti, that power of Salsangam followed Vritrasura, Chitraketu, even when he got the next body as Vritrasura. Even though Sri Parvati cursed him to become Vritrasura, still he escaped from that due to this Salsangam he had while he was Chitraketu. Chitraketu became Vritrasura later. In the Bhagavatam you know that story. Chitraketu became Vritrasura later. So Chitraketu's time, life, because he had satsangam with Narada Maharshi and Lord Balaram, Sankrishna Murti, that stayed inside. And when he was cursed by Sri Parvati and he had to become Vritrasura, in that Vritrasura's body also, what saved him? This satsangam had saved him. Otherwise there was nothing there for him. Chitraketu's life, if you look back into it, you can see there that how attached he was to Pragadiri and baby and all that. So, Bahavo Valpadam Praptam Twashtra is Vritrasura. Twashtra Kayadhava Deyaha. Kayadhu is Prahlada's mother. Kayadhava is Prahlada. Prahlada's mother had Salsangam with Sri Narada Maharshi. And although it did not have its impact on Kayadhu, it worked for Prahlada. Isn't it? It had its effect on Prahlada. Kayadhavadaya. Vrishabhava Bali Manu Maya Shatha Vibhishanaha. Vrishabhava Mahabali Manan Maya Vibhishana Sugri. Then he says Sugriva Hanuman Ruksho Gajo Gadro Vadikvataha Vyadha Ujja Praje Gopyo Yajnavagnya Stathavare. Number of people Krishna is mentioning there. And he says there that you have to remember some of these personalities, they don't have a very good track record. It is only through Salsangam they escaped. Best example is Sugriva. Sugriva's life, if you read, we all think Sugriva was Ramchandra's right-hand man, isn't it? He was his army commander. And look at Sugriva's life. As soon as he got the opportunity, he wanted to drink. And when Bali died, he took all control of Tara as well, his wife. So he had his own wife, I think her name was Rukma or something, and then he took control of Tara as well, and he was always drunk. Lakshmana goes to see him because our Sugriva has offered that once the rainy season is over, we'll start the search. Rainy season finished, no search has started. So one day, Ramchandra says to Lakshmana, what is happening with our friend? We have gone and made all this agreement with Sugriva. They have gone to Rishyamukhajilam, Hanuman has taken them there, and they met Sugriva. Sugriva spoke to them like an authority and told Ramchandra, if you get Bali killed, then I will make all arrangements for the inquiry of Sita Devi. When Ramchandra and Lakshmana were living in the forest and waiting for rainy season to finish, because that was the agreement. It was at that time, those few months, 4 months during the rainy season, that Ramchandra instructed Lakshmana on spiritual topics. The Ramayana is a very important part, Lakshmana Vadesha. Instructions to Lakshmana about spiritual life. Lakshmana was also in the beginning very fiery in that way, but after hearing from Ramchandra about spiritual topics, Lakshmana got pacified in the forest. Agastya Maharshi also helped a lot at that time. So you can see from Ramayana, at that instance what happened was, Ramchandra told Lakshmana that it is time now that something must happen now. So Lakshmana goes to inquire from Sugriva what has happened, where is the inquiry, when is it going to start. When he went there, Sugriva was fully drunk. He was sitting there and enjoying it comfortably, and he couldn't even recognize Lakshmana when he got there. He was so drunk, he was. And Krishna is saying here that Sugriva has escaped. There is no other credibility for Sugriva. Sugriva's good fortune was association with Hanuman, association with Ramchandra, association with Lakshmana, nothing else. He escaped from here. Sugrivo Hanuman Vriksho Gajo Gridro Vanipadhaha Vyadaha Kubja Vraje Gopyo Yajnavatnyastadhapane. Why do they bring all these personalities in the Bhagavatam? To show to us that spiritual life is not as you plan accordingly. But he's telling us in the past this is how things have happened. Kubja, what has Kubja done? Kubja, when she saw Krishna, the only good thing she was able to do, that she was carrying this sandalwood pulp and other things for Kamsa. When she saw Krishna's beauty, she says to Krishna and Balaram, and then this is meant for you, not for Kamsa. That's all. And Krishna goes to her and says, calls her, oh Sundari. Her name is actually Trivakra. She had 3 bends in her body and she couldn't even stand properly. And Krishna addressed her Sundari, and Kubja was completely in a shaken situation in the Bhagavad. And that Kubja escaped, Krishna says, due to association. So, Vyadha, Dharmavyadha, Kubjaha, Vraje Gopyoho, Gopis in the Brajam. How did they escape? They didn't study any Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, or they were not initiated, they didn't have any rounds to chant, nothing. They also escaped, Krishna says. Yajnavatnyastadhapane, although the wives of the Brahmanas also escaped from here due to association. So then, as a conclusion, Krishna says here, Tena adhida shubhiganaha, nobasida mahattamaha, avrada taptadavasaha, salsanganman uvagadaha. Krishna never gets satisfied talking about salsangam. He says, Tena adhida shubhiganaha. They have none of these people I have spoken. Krishna says, they have studied Shastram. They never heard Shruti, Vedam any time. Nobasida mahattamaha. They never had done anything particularly important in their life to serve any great personalities. They haven't had that opportunity either. Then, avradaha, they have not executed any austerities or penances either. Avrada tapta tavasaha, then what else? Salsanganman upagadaha. Salsangam has saved them, he says there. Krishna is saying that. Salsangena Asannamam Ubagadaha. He says only through Salsangam they escaped. Then Kevalena Hibhavena Gopyo Gao Naga Ye Anyamutadiyo Nagaha Siddha Maniyuranjasaha Yamna Yogena Sanghena Danavrata Bodharehi Vyakhya Swadhyaya Sanyase Prajno Yadyat Navanidhi. So you can see the first 10 verses in that 12th chapter. Krishna is talking about nothing but Satsangam and talking about taking shelter of Satsangam. So here, coming back to this, that Sajjana Sangye Chittam. Ajay Swami also mentions that there, isn't it? Sajjana Sangam, always staying in the Satsangam, always keeping the association of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. That is Satsangam. Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is our Satsangam. And so there, Deyam Sajjana Sangye Chittam. Because idea behind that is that due to the Purva Karma, what we have done in our many lifetimes, and even in this life also, whatever Prarabdha Vasana we have created, Prarabdha Karma Vasana that we have created, and the Karma Bhalam, all the result of our sinful activities, we have to get it done, get it through. So, while living in Satsangam, these things will come. Which one? Prarabdha Vasana and Karma Bhalam. They will come. But they will come and go through. And that is the only way. Remember we mentioned before, two friends, this happens. On the one friend, we have to make sure that new vasanas don't enter inside. New relationships don't come up. New raga, new dvesha. Anything new, not allow anything to get inside. In order what is already there to get them out, Satsangam is the solution. Then while in Satsangam, it won't allow any new things to get inside. On the other hand, by constant hearing of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, what will happen is, the existing Prarabdha Vasana or Karma Bhalam, they will also get destroyed in due course of time. So in order to that, there also, Ajay is only saying here that in order that to become that effective, it has to do its duty. Whatever accumulated wealth in the wrong means in this world, Dina Janaja Vittam, spend that money in a way so that money doesn't become a load on your back later. Whatever that has come, Prarabdha has brought the money, not your smartness or cleverness in this world. We are thinking like that's the biggest mistake. Due to Prarabdha, money will come from somewhere, in some form, it may come. When it comes like that, don't carry that load, as I is saying here. Don't make it a load on your back. Exhaust it straight away in a proper way, suitable way, whatever you feel is appropriate. Deyam Dina Janaja Vittam. That Vittam should be spent. We'll talk about money later, how the money creates the problems. So he says here, whoever is in distress, hand it over to them for that reason. It is like, we compare that like water which you have stored up. If you keep water standing in one place for a long time, it will start smelling, isn't it? It will start smelling. In the same way, wealth also has the same problem. And either it will start smelling or it will develop into disease. It will come in the form of disease later. Therefore, Deyam Dina Janaja Vittam. And that is one instruction given there. Deyam Gita Nama Sahasram Deyam Srimati Rupam Ajasram. He mentions there, and then he mentions in the third line. Then Deyam Sajjana Sangye Chittam. Deyam Dina Janaja Vittam. Very simple, direct instructions, isn't it? That Deyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Always take shelter of Bhagavad Gita and chant the holy name. Deyam Srimati Rupam Ajasram. If you can do meditation, dhyanam, if it has to dhyanam, let that be on a form, Krishna's form, in Srimati Rupam Ajasram. And if that is not possible, Neyam Sajjana Sangye Chittam. If the mind is not listening, the mind is driving you away in other directions, Sajjana Sangye Chittam. Keep absorbed in the association of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Even if you are reading Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam at home, that is Satsangam. That is Satsangam. At home, if you read Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Neyam Sajjana Sangye Chittam. And exhaust all the wealth what has come through Prarabdham. And if it is becoming a burden on the shoulders, Deyam Dina Janaja Vittam. That is the instructions. So, in this way, when we try to bring the mind under control, mind will again still come and forcefully go back to anger and desire. Kamam and krodham, it will start going back. And why is it like that? Because no matter however you try, the mind has its own training also, isn't it? From the past it has acquired certain habits. And overnight you can't change that. And just like you can see sometimes, some people who are fond of dogs, they keep the dog in their lap and they pat the dog and do all sorts of things with the dog they're showing their affection towards the dog. And the dog, what it does is, when it gets sick, sometimes from its mouth things start flowing or starts vomiting or some illness comes to the dog, he will still come. And you don't want the dog, those who are looking after the dogs and saying, they don't want the dog to sit on their laps. So they have to throw them out from there at that time, isn't it? So, but the dog does not know that the master doesn't like him anymore, or because of this reason that why he is not accepting him. So, but if he tells the dog, shout at the dog not to come a few times, or give one or two slaps, the dog will move away from there. Similarly, the mind also, due to its old habit, again and again, it will bring back our old vasana and bring it back and give it to us now and then. It will come and do that. So at that time, properly analyzing it, that it is what mind is doing, and we have to learn to escape from that, not to get pulled by that. But whatever sense gratification or sense objects it's bringing in front of us, and we have to find the fault in them, in associating with those things. And in that way, if you do that, it will not get inside. It will not get inside. If you see it properly, just like if we know that the fire is going to burn, then you won't touch the fire in the same way, isn't it? So if he sees that the fire is going to burn, and if he's still putting the hand into the fire, that means he has got some problem, isn't it? That's what it means. He's got some problem. In the olden days, when leprosy was treated, leprosy in the olden days, now I don't know what the medicines are, but in the olden days, when leprosy attacks some person, it's very difficult. The society will not like to go anywhere closer to him because it's such a deadly disease. So, so nobody will touch them. It's an untouchable state, that is this leprosy disease. So, but sometimes because he himself gets frustrated with his own body, what's giving him the problem, he will put his hand or leg into the fire where he has got attack of leprosy in the hand. And similarly, and he feels better when he does that in the fire if it burns the hand or leg, but because the disease is giving him so much pain otherwise. Similarly, inside us we have a disease. What is that? Sense enjoyment. That disease is very strong inside. And that, Vishaya Bhogam, that's what it's called, and that has to be cured. And if you don't treat that disease, again and again, the mind will go in the same direction, taking us back to the same sense enjoyment. So, and therefore, one or two things he has spoken here. The first step is that yesterday we saw here one thing, important thing. What was that? Muthajehi dhanagama trishna. The first thing is money. Money is the first thing that is going to cause the problem. That money, very nature of money is that it will come and it will go. It won't stay. It won't stay with anybody. That's why I mentioned Kuru mutajehi dhanagama trishna. Kuru sal buddhi manasi vitrishna. Sal buddhi manasi vitrishna. Two things he has mentioned, we have talked about that before also. That money is asata, it is not sata. Soul is sata. Soul is sata. Acharya Swami is saying there, Kuru sal buddhim manasi vitrishna. Don't allow the mind to absorb in asata, which is money. Money, if it gets inside, and if all our meditation is centered around money, then it is going to be a serious problem. That's what he is saying. Kuru salbuddhim manasi vitrishna. We talked about that earlier also. That in order that self-realization has to happen, the mind has to become finer and finer. And in order that it has to become finer, only then the mind will get absorbed in the holy name, or it will get absorbed in the form of Krishna. It can only happen when the mind becomes very fine inside. That fineness comes if these problems are there, problem with money. On the one hand, you are chanting the holy name, and you are thinking that I am getting purified. On the other hand, your greed is pushing you to get as much money as possible from the people. Then these two things is just like Manye Kunjara Shauchavat, like the elephant's baiting. What does the elephant do? Elephant, they take it for in the olden days. Nowadays people have got horses, isn't it? Or modern people, they got flash cars they maintain. In the past, when the cars were not there, people had horses. They maintained a lot of horses, and that was their royalty or aristocratic state. But prior to that, people maintained elephants, number of elephants. And those who, if you could afford to maintain an elephant, means you are really wealthy in them days. So sometimes they will maintain, and some people are very fond of elephants, maintaining them, looking after them. So these people who look after the elephants, they have to take the elephant to bathe in the river because it needs so much water, so many hours of rubbing to clean the body. And this Mahout who looks after, there are sometimes 2 or 3 people. And he will go and lie in the water, the elephant. And these 2-3 people for a few hours will be rubbing this body. They spend a lot of energy because it's a huge body. To rub it all and to clean it takes a long time. And after everything is rubbed and cleaned and bathed nicely, he comes out. And when he comes out, the head of the Mahout tells the elephant, please, again don't take dust and pour it on yourself. Because if you take the elephant, because after bathing, the owner of the elephant will tell him, bring him back, I want to look at him, how well you have bathed him. But when he comes there, the first thing what he does is, with a wet cloth, he will touch the body of the elephant to check if there is any dirt on his body. If there is dirt on the body of the elephant, the Mahout will get the beating. That is the agreement. That's how it is. So he says to him, elephant, that please don't misbehave. Whatever his name, normally elephants are given all Krishna's names. Rama, Krishna, Govinda, all sorts of names they give to elephant. And they say to Govinda, Govinda, don't do this. At least till you get to see the owner. Afterwards I'll give you some fruits and try to bribe him in this way. So by the time elephant won't listen all that. His nature is, as soon as the body is clean, he needs the dust. All over the body he will sprinkle it. And this Mahout will beat him at that time for doing this. Even after instructions, he still does that. So this is the nature of the mind. Manye Kunjara Shauchavat. Who says this? Parikshit says in the Bhagavatam to Subramashri. He says all this is like this, that the very nature of the mind is that once he has got some attraction for the money, if he has developed, no matter what you tell the mind, it won't listen. So what will happen? On the one side you are chanting and you are doing all sorts of spiritual sadhana. Even while doing the sadhana you are thinking about the money, how much money is going to come. And then after chanting is over, you are directly involved in collecting the money. So these two things side by side, how can it work? That's what Parikshit asked the question. Parikshit asked this question to Sukadeva Goswami. How would it work, he said. Subramashri says to him, I know it will not work, he said. His answer was like that, it cannot work. So there are certain things in spiritual life also, Krishna is saying here, that in this also he says here, money is one such thing, that in order that you become finer inside, that fineness to develop inside the mind, favorable for self-realization if it has to happen, you have to learn how to keep the money out of the mind. It is an important thing. And that's why it says here, mind, if it is absorbed in any gross objects, sthula vastu inside, then it will not be suitable for self-realization. This is the conclusion. Atma Vicharam, realization of the soul, analysis of the soul, it won't be suitable if it is absorbed in the gross things in this world. And money is one of the gross things in this world. It's not a very subtle thing, money. It's a very gross thing. So, therefore he mentions there the first step, Dhanagama Trishnam Jahi. Mota Jahihi Dhanagama Trishnam. Dhanagama Trishtam Jahi, he said. So, as long as you can see in this world also, because of this disease, same disease, when people have money, a lot of money, the world will respect you and they will honor you, that they are saying this so many things, that, and they will salute you. But actually they are not saluting, they are saluting the money. They are not saluting you, they are actually saluting them. So knowing all this well, these things, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in 2 places Krishna spoke about this. I don't know whether you have taken notice of it. In the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Mahabali had a discussion with Krishna, what did they say? Let's look at that. In the 8th canto, 22nd chapter. Shri Bhagavan Vacham. Just to mention this, what we have talked about here in the Bhaja Govindam prayers, what Krishna says about that. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, verse 24 in chapter 22. Mahabali was very, very opulent person, wasn't he? He had all the 3 planetary systems under his control. And after Krishna has taken everything from Mahabali, there is a conversation between Krishna and Mahabali. That is what is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bali Vamana Samvadam. It is called Bali Vamana Samvadam. Mahabali and Vamanamurti talking to each other. Krishna says to Mahabali, Brahmanyamanya Grihnami Tadvisho Vidhinomyaham Yanmada Purushastadho Logam Mam Cha Amanyate. He says here, Brahmanyamanya Grihnami. Addressing Mahabali Brahman, he says that Lord Brahma was also there at that time. Brahma was also right. So addressing them, he says, if I want to give my mercy to somebody, Kripa, and if my blessings comes to him, first thing what I do, I take away all his wealth. That's the first thing I do. Tadvisho vidhinomyaham. Tadvisho vidhinomyaham. I remove everything. Because what happens, Yan Mada Purusha Stardho, he gets proud. Why? Because he has got money. That pride, in a certain level, I got so much in the bank and so many people working for me. I'm a big boss. All this. And in a certain level, but externally acting very humble. But inside that pride and arrogance also strongly. Yan Mada Purusha Stardho, Logam Mam Chava Manyate. Because due to opulence in life, he has become so proud, Krishna says here, that he becomes so indifferent and he starts offending everybody in the world. That arrogance due to the money in the hand. And Krishna says there, when he is offending the world, he is actually offending me. Because I am in every living entity. When the money is in the hand and you feel the strength of the money behind, then naturally people do such things due to their arrogance inside, isn't it? That arrogance will make them think that they can do anything what they want. That's what he's saying here. Brahmanyamana Grihnami Tadvisho Vidhinomyaham Yanmada Purushastadho Lokamam Chavamanyate. So that is how Vamanamurti, Krishna's Vamana there. Vamanamurti spoke to Mahabali in this way. Is it not? Mahavamurti spoke to Mahabali in this way. That first thing, if Krishna feels that somebody requires a proper mercy from me, Krishna says, first thing I do, I'll take away everything from him. And therefore, there is no question of him feeling any, he feels helpless in this world. And only in that helpless state, he will take my shelter. Otherwise, if you tell a wealthy person, take Krishna's shelter, he will write a check for you. He says, take the check, don't bother me. That's what most of the wealthy people does in this world. If you tell them that you have to take Krishna's shelter, he says, I have no time, but I'll give you a check, don't bother me. And we are also happy with the check. We don't want, actually that's what we want. We don't want him to come and bother us. We are happy that he gives the check to us. Isn't it? So this is the nature of the world also dancing according to the same tune. So, Brahman Brahmanishyami, Brahmanyamanu Grihnami, Tad Visho Vijanomyam, Yanmada Purushasgartho, Logam Mam Chavamanyade. Krishna wants, if somebody is proud with, Kundi Devi mentioned this, Janmaishwarya Shudishrigar Edamanamada Puman, isn't it? Nevaha Tabidadambai Tuam Akinchana Gochar. All great devotees have said this to Krishna. You have partiality towards Akinchana, people who have no money. You have a special, you will accept them easily than a person with a lot of wealth. It's very difficult for Krishna because Krishna says that they have this problem inside, arrogance with their wealth. So therefore, you can notice here, I remove that thing first because that is what is causing this problem, this money, isn't it? So much in the bank, so much in the building, so much invested in the stocks and shares, so much in the gold, endless amount of wealth, and that power behind feeling importance in the world. I got all these things with me. And Krishna decided one morning that to take away everything and goes away, and then that person naturally starts becoming a little. Krishna says, when I want to give them mercy, that's the first thing I do, he says there. So, because of the Aishwaryam, Kundi Devi says like this, that Janmam, Aishwaryam, Shoti, Shri, all these things due to Edaman Madapuman, Madam builds up inside. Nayoha Tabidadam by Tuam Akinchana Gojaram. But Akinchanas, one who has no possessions, who has got only Krishna as their wealth, they do not care for any of these things. So in the Bhagavatam here, Vamanamurti spoke this to Mahabali. Then you will also see, if you look into the 88th chapter of the 10th canto, 1088, there also this comes up. The same problem. What was that problem? This immediately after Shuddhigita. That was that story when it is a relationship with when the question came up. Lord Shiva was had a problem with this Asura, Vyomasura. There, what has happened with him was that he wanted to ask this question. It is in verse number Rudramokshanam Nama Ashtashitam. It's the 88th chapter, and our particular this demon Asura, he wanted to. He asked Sri Narada Maharshi, whom should I worship? And Narada Maharshi said, the right person to worship is Lord Shiva, who is very easy to please, isn't it? Very easy to please. So, it was on Narada Maharshi's instructions, he went and he decided to please Lord Shiva. But his wealth and other things was, he was particularly very rich and strong person. So there, Sri Maharshi says here that Parishma had asked this question at that time, that why is this problem in this world? Lord Shiva is a very not fond of opulences, isn't it? He's a very poor person. He lives in Kailasam, but he's not fond of any opulence in this world. And that is the reason why Mahalakshmi rejected him while in marriage. Remember that when chaining of the milk ocean happened, all the great personalities were sitting there. Mahalakshmi came up with a garland in the hand, and she had to put it on somebody's neck. And she was given the choice to marry whomever she likes. The demons and the demigods, they have chained the milk ocean, and from the ocean she came up. Bhrigu's daughter she is, Mahalakshmi came up. So both demons and the demigods wanted her to marry her. So ultimately a compromise was made, agreement, that she has been given the choice, whomever she wants to marry. So our Mahalakshmi was given the garland. That was the system, that she can put the garland on anyone she likes and she can marry that person. That was the agreement. So many great personalities were sitting there. Shiva Brahmashi mentions this in the Bhagavatam. Who were all there? Durvasa was there. And Lord Shiva and many others were present there. Mahalakshmi will look at each and every one of them and says, first you look at them and say, no, I won't marry him. She has got this problem. Indra was there. He looks at Indra and says about Indra. Indra has got everything. Very good life, good standard of life, and he can maintain me, looks after me very well. But Indra has got some problems, he says. She says the problems of Indra also there in the Bhagavatam. So like these different personalities, some sages were present there. Mahalakshmi says, what will I do with these sages? They have been discussing all the time philosophy, and I am not particularly very fond of philosophy. When it comes to Lord Shiva, Mahalakshmi says, he has got everything, but only one problem he has got. He doesn't wear good clothes. That's the only problem. His dress is the elephant skin. Is the dhoti, like he wears like the dhoti, the elephant skin. And a second cloth on which shows the deer skin. And Vasuki, the snake in the neck. And the whole matted hair. Overall, she likes all the qualities in Lord Shiva. But I don't think as a wife I will be able to fit in with this. And then he moves on to Krishna, who was present there, as Vishnu form, he was present there. He says, Krishna was not interested. Krishna was sitting there with his legs extended into the ocean of milk and fully relaxed, let them decide what they want. But Mahalakshmi didn't go to anybody. She went straight to Mahavishnu. Vishnu was present there and married Vishnu. So you can see, Shiva by very nature is not very fond of opulences, lives very simple. Very simple. Whereas Krishna likes opulence. That is Krishna's nature. He's liking opulence. You will see sometimes he wants every time, few times the dress changed and many times opulent prasadam, everything Krishna likes in that way. So the question came up, Parikshit had this question. Although Shiva is very poor, all those devotees of Lord Shiva seems to get rich. And those who are going to Krishna, he is very rich, but all his devotees are very poor. Krishna's devotees are Sudama and personalities like that. Shiva's devotees are Bana and others who are all very rich and wealthy. Why this contradiction? A rich man's devotee should be also rich, isn't it? And a poor man's devotee should be poor. It seems some contradiction here. Who said this? Parikshit asked this question to Shiva Brahmashi. So Shiva Brahmashi answered that question very nicely. He says there, Shri Shiva Vacha, verse 2. Shiva Shakti Dashashwar Trilingo Gunasamrata Vaivarya Taigasascha Tamasaschatyaham Trithaha Tato Vikara Abhavan Shodashamishu Kanchana Ubhadavan Vibhutinam Sarvasam Astudegadim. He says there that Lord Shiva's Ubhadi. Ubhadi means that the media through which is Ahangara, isn't it? Ahangara, false ego is Lord Shiva's control, under control. And that has got three different branches, Satya Ahangaram, Rajasa Ahangaram, Tamasa Ahangaram. From a spiritual point of view, if you look at it, Sankarshana Murti is the one Lord Shiva meditates upon. Actually, Shiva is not different from Balaram. Balaram is Lord Shiva. In the Bhagavatam it is there. If you read carefully, you will see there. This Balaram is Ahangaram's Adhishtana Devata. Adhishtana Devata means predominating deity of Ahangaram is Balaram. And that is why Lord Shiva worships Sankarshana Murti. He is himself, Sankarshana Murti is another expansion is Shiva. Sankarshana is Balaram. So Shiva worships Sankarshana Murti and their quality Ahangaram, that Ahangaram has got three ways, Satyam, Rajasam, Tamasam. Goodness, passion and ignorance under three modes. And it is from that Ahangaram, the mind, the 10 senses, 5 material elements have all come. So 16, Shodasha Vigaram they call it. 16 things. The mind, the 10 senses and the 5 material elements, they came from that. So if you take any one of these Ubhadi as one of these Ubhadis and serve Shiva, you will reach perfection. You will achieve what you want. Pancho Upasana process is there for worshipping Lord. You will see because of this in different places how Lord Shiva is worshipped. Lord Shiva is worshipped in 5 different places under 5 material elements: earth, water, air, ether and fire. In Chidambaram he is worshipped in the sky form. Ether, that's what it is worshipped. In Jamukeshwara he is worshipped in the water. In Kalahasti he is worshipped as the air. In Tirunamala he is worshipped as the fire. Like this, earth, water, air, ether and fire. So 5 places, 5 material elements, he is worshipped in that form. Why? Because these Shodasha mind, in the creation process, from Sankrishna Murti, Shiva came, and Shiva is the controller of all. That aspect of Sankrishna Murti, who controls the Ahankaram for ego, Mahatattvam, Ahantattvam comes from that, isn't it? In the 3rd canto, Mahatattvam, Ahantattvam. That Ahantattvam, Pradhanam it is called, in other words, and from there comes all the other things later. So here you can see one who worships any of that, he will reach Lord Shiva and Lord Shiva will offer that mercy to him. Then Shiva Brahmashi says here, Hari Rihi Nirguna Saksha Purusha Prakriti Para Sa Sarvaduk Upadrashtam Tambhajan Nirguno Bhave. But if you worship Shiva in that way, these opulences will come if you have that in your mind, in your desires inside. But Krishna is Nirguna. The 3 modes of material nature has nothing to do with Krishna. He is beyond that. And because he is the witness of everything, as the soul present in everyone, as the witness of everything, he is beyond the 3 modes of material nature, and one who approaches Krishna in that way, he goes beyond the 3 modes of material nature and lives happily after that. So after saying that, he mentions there that Ashwamedha Yagam sacrifice happened, and after that, Dharmavatra Maharaja or Yudhishthira Maharaja also asked the same question. And at that time, Krishna has spoken about this to Dharmavatra. He says, mentions like that. What was that? And that's what is quoted here. He says here, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Krishna is saying here, Yasyaham anugrahanami harishe tadhanam shane tadho dhanam tejam dyasya swajanam dukkha dukhidaha. Krishna says there, that time, if I want to give mercy to somebody, we all want Krishna's mercy, isn't it? We all know that without that, no progress is possible in spiritual life. Without Krishna's mercy, whether you are a jnani or a yogi or a bhakta, whatever it may be, process we are engaged in, without Krishna's kripa or mercy, it is not going to happen. But Krishna is saying here, Yasyaham anugrahanami. If I want to give the mercies to someone, if I felt that, first thing what I do, harishe tadhanam shaneihi. I will take away all his wealth little by little. Everything what he does will fail in this world. Harishe tadhanam shaneihi. Then what will happen? Tadho dhanam tejandyasya. When he loses all his wealth, what will happen? All his so-called society, friends, they will all go. You won't see them anymore after that. They won't really phone you after that. When you have a lot of money, they'll like to join you for your social life. They want to be with you and they will have all social interactions. But suppose you have become pauper and all your relations are rich and wealthy, they will find it very difficult. They'll say, we are very busy at the moment. No time to go. I'm not seen you for a long time, they'll say. Tado dhanam tejam yasya. When money goes, there's no money for entertainment, for parties, for birthday parties. There's no money anymore. There won't be remembered anymore. Tado dhanam tejam yasya. Then what will happen? Swajana dukkha dukkhiya. Krishna saying that once they leave you, he will feel so distressed. That person will think that what has happened in my life, everything has gone. So you can see here that afterwards, after he has lost all the money, sayadha vidatho dyogo narvinnasya dhane haya malpare kridamai krasya karishe madanugraham. Then even after he lost all the money, still he will work very hard to make more money. He will somehow think that let me make some money, I will teach them a lesson how I can make money in this world. He will go in that direction. But Krishna says, even if he struggle hard, he won't make it. He won't get it. I won't allow him to have the money anymore. And ultimately, he will come to his senses and will become serious in spiritual life. So, in these two places in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is mentioning about the money. Very clearly he says that if I decide someone is going to have my mercy, you can take it that it's coming, mercy is coming. If the money is going away, every money is going away. He mentions like that. So, so Krishna says that if a devotee has a lot of wealth, first thing is that I'll take it away and I'll make him very poor. But great devotees who knows this, that is why Krishna is in very great trouble with Sudama. He couldn't do anything with him. Sudama gave him, if you offer anything to him, he says, I don't want it. This was the problem. Krishna had this difficulty with Sudama, isn't it? Because Sudama knows the principle behind it, how it works. So, when this happens in a life, he knows what the world is like, and all those people who are saluting him or phoning him up before that, they will all won't come back anymore, and they will not even inquire about anything. So that is why in that fifth verse, what it mentions there, you will see there the fifth verse, what Bhaja Govindam says. The fifth verse, if you look, Yavad Vitto Marjana Saktam Stavan Nija Parivaro Rektam Pashat Jivani Jarjaradehe Vartam Kovina Puchadigehe. It's a very interesting word. Yavad Vitto Marjana Saktaha. When you have capacity to earn and you are capable of acquiring a lot of wealth in this world, Taval Nija Parivaro Rektaha. All friends and society will be there with you at that time. Yavad Vitto Marjana Saktaha. As long as you are capable of earning wealth, your so-called friends and society will be there to salute you, to phone you, to invite you for the parties. They will be there. Stavan Nija Parivaro Rektaha Paschal Jivadi Jarjara Dehe Vartam Kobi Na Prichadigehe. Paschal Jivadi Jarjara Dehe. When the life has gone from that body, who will inquire about you at that time? It's all a show in this world what goes on in the name of the social life and partying, everything. All this is completely bogus and totally misleading the people in this way. We give so much importance to it, isn't it? How many parties and how many social circle we have. And he was invited me, I have invited them, and she has invited me back, and they take a great pride in all these things, talking about all this rubbish. So, Paschal Jivadi Jarjaradehe, when body one day becomes useless and it is withering away, Vartam Kobi Na Prachadigehe. Nobody will inquire, oh, this has happened to you, you're going, is it? Oh, fine, everything's fine, bye-bye. Let's finish that. All parties over, all socializing, everything is over with that. So, Yavad Vitto Marjana Saktaha, Stavan Nija Parivaro Rektaha, Paschal Jivani Jarjara Dehe, Vartam Kobi Na Pruchadigehe. There is nobody will inquire. Even your own people, who is, once you are down, there will be nobody there to ask you. Oh, they will say, oh, you have no time, I'm so busy now. I've got appointment to go see somebody. There's no time after that. So, Bhaja Govindam. So, so long as you are making a lot of money in this world, everyone at home will inquire about you. how well you are doing, and they will inquire about your breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything on time. Oh, you are not taking. Oh, you should go to the doctor if you are not feeling well. Oh, they'll be so concerned about your wealth and health and everything. But afterwards, what will happen? He says here, Yavad Vitto Marjana Saktaha. Only as long as the money is coming in. Nija Parivaro Rektaha. And that attachment will also be there. Paschal Jivadi. By some reason, if that has stopped, by some reason, and after that, if you have to live in this world, it is real misery after that. Paschat jivati jarjara dehe, because this is retirement life, isn't it? It is the most difficult life in this world. Paschat jivati jarjara dehe. That is why if you have a lot of money, as soon as you retire, you should not give it to anybody or write it in anybody's name. You should wait, keep that money and show it to them. Look, it's there waiting for you. Only then there will be some respect from people. You have to use it as a tool. There is no other. That's what it's saying. Paschat jivati jarjara dehe. If you give them, oh, I've made a will and I've given money to everybody. Once they get the will, that's it. That's finished. They won't even look back at you again. They will see only come for the cremation. They will see you next time. That is the next thing what will happen. So, Paschat jivati jarjara dehe. Vartam kopi na prachati gehe. So, there will not be anybody to inquire about anything. So, therefore, asakti, attachment to the wealth. Attachment to the wealth is anartham bhavayati. One has to understand that it is anartham. So, we'll stop for a few minutes. We'll continue.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Yaval Pavano Nivasadi Gehe, Tavat Prachadi Kushalam Gehe. That is the verse 6. Verse 5 you see, Yavat Vitro Varjana Saktaha, Stavat Nija Parivaro Raktaha, Paschat Jivati Jarjara Dehe, Vartam Kopi Na Prachadi Gehe. After saying that, in the next verse, Ajay Swami says there, Yaval Pavano Nivasadi Gehe, Taval Prachadi Kushalam Gehe, Gadavadi Vayu Deha Vaye, Bharya Vibhyadi Tasmin Kaye. Yaval Pavano Nivasadi Gehe. As long as there is life air in the body, Taval Prachadi Kushalam Gehe, till then people will ask you, inquire from you about your welfare, Kushalam. Kushalam means welfare. They will inquire about your welfare. Gadavadi Vayu Deha Vayu. As long as the life air leaves this body, nobody wants to look at that body, even one's own wife, with whom one had a bodily relationship, even they will not like to see that body, because after the death, everybody wants to get the body out as quickly as possible. What does it show? It says here, Gadavadi Vayu Deha Vaye Bharya Vibhyadi Tasmin Kaye. In order to show to us that the relationship between two personalities is not on the body. It is actually on a different level. It is. The soul, priyam from the soul, is attraction towards another priyam for the other soul. It is not based on the body. That's why as soon as that happens, even Bharya Vibhyadi Tasmin Kaye, wife also finds it difficult to look at the husband's body. The very same body with whom she had a relationship before, husband and wife, that relationship is also over with that. When the Yaval Pavano Nivasadi Gehe, Taval Prachati Kushalam Gehe, Yadavadi Vayu, Deha Vayu, when danger happens into the body. So, all these things, so Krishna mentions here that this asakti, attachment towards wealth, that's what we are discussing, isn't it? So, that is anartham. It says that is anartham. Attachment, once attachment develops, it is anartham. How does he say that? You look into the verse 29. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam. That's how he says. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam. Nasti tata sukhalesha satyam. Putradhavi dhanabhajam bhidi sarvatresha vihidaliti. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam. Nasti tata sukhalesha satyam.
Putragavidana bhajam bhiti sarvatresha bhidariti. You will see this here that so why did he write all these things in Bhaja Govindam prayers? Why did he write all these things here? Because he knows very well there are exceptional cases to this. These are all generally spoken. Not everybody is, there are people, devotees also sometimes, who knows how to deal with the money properly without attachment. So, exceptional cases they may be there, but generally he has mentioned like this. Overall, if you look in all over the world, it is this running for money, isn't it? Everywhere it's the same thing. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you look into this, there is a story there, Krishna's childhood pastimes. When Krishna was very young, the day when Krishna was tied to the mortar, Damodara pastime happened. After that, Krishna pulled the mortar towards two trees which were standing there in the courtyard. Arjuna trees, they are called Arjuna trees. Two trees were standing one next to each other. He pulled Krishna pulled the mortar. He couldn't walk because he was tied to the mortar. So he was crawling there. He started crawling and this mortar was following with him along with that. So other cowherd boys who were watching Krishna at that time, they said to Krishna that we will talk to Yashoda Devi to get you out from here, from this bondage, Shiva Brahmarshi says, one who is capable of releasing everyone from the bondage is now under bondage. One who is capable of releasing everyone from bondage is under bondage now. That's how Shiva Brahmarshi says about Yashoda Devi and Krishna at that time. You know the pastime, what happened in Damodara Leela. Yashoda had to struggle very hard to tie Krishna down. So anyway, Krishna made everything a big joke about that with the cowherd boys and started pulling this mortar along with him. And he wanted to pass through these Arjuna trees because it was at that time, Krishna remembered suddenly, it was the 100th day, 100 years or something after Nalaguvera and Manigriva, the two sons of Kubera, the wealthiest person. Who is Kubera? Treasurer of the demigods. Kubera. His children, Nalaguvera and Manigriva was their name, they, due to their arrogance inside, they got into trouble with Narada Maharshi. Isn't it? That pastime is there in the Bhagavatam. Once it so happened that Nalaguvera and Manigriva with all other Apsaras women, they were bathing in the Alagananda river. And at that time Siddhartha Maharshi came. When Siddhartha Maharshi came, they were drunk. So they had few problems. Narada Maharshi understood the situation. First problem they had, they were the sons of the richest person. That was the main problem. That arrogance due to wealth in them. Secondly, they were intoxicated. Due to that arrogance. Intoxication creates that, isn't it? In a person he becomes arrogant. So, first due to the wealth, second due to intoxication. Then Bhagavatam says they had another problem because not only they were the children of the richest person, they had the best education as well. So, Vidyamadam, Dhanamadam, and also due to the three things. One is due to being the son of the wealthiest person. Then secondly due to the intoxication, and now the third thing due to the education also. In all levels they had that big arrogance in them. So Sridharana Maharshi decided that they need to be properly treated for this problem. So that's why he cursed them that you go and stand there as two Arjuna trees in Vrindavanam, and one day when Krishna comes there, he will release you from this bondage. So they were standing there. These two trees were standing there. And Krishna suddenly remembered that this is that day which Narada Maharshi has given the commitment to the Nalagavira and Manigriva. And that's why he pulled this mortar in between these two trees, who was Arjuna trees. He was pulling the mortar. And when he pulled the mortar through them, both the trees suddenly fell. And in place of those trees, two great personalities stood there and started offering their prayers to Krishna. When they started offering prayers to Krishna, Krishna was not taking any notice of it. And it was then that they start mentioning about Narada Maharshi's name. When Narada Maharshi's name was mentioned, suddenly Krishna started taking serious note of it. So at that time, if you will see there, Shuka Brahmashi says there like this. If you look in the 10th canto, you will see the interesting way how Shuka Brahmashi puts that. 10th canto, 10th chapter. Shuka Brahmashi is sometimes very chastises very strongly. He says here, if you look into verse 13, Asataha Shrimadham Dasya Daridryam Paramanjanam Alpaupamyena Bhugani Daridryam Paramikshade. Asata Shrimadham Dasya Daridryam Paramanjanam Alpaupamyena Bhugani Daridryam Paramikshade. He says, Sudhir Goswami says, that for those who have that arrogance due to wealth inside, that disease, the best cure for them is poverty. Put them into a poverty situation. Because Alpavamyena Bhudani Daridra Paramikshade, a poor person, he says here, will have compassion for other living entities. When you are very poor in this world, you will know the difficulties of others, isn't it? You will feel compassion for others who are suffering in this world. For a rich person, it's very difficult, he says, to feel compassion like that. Therefore he says here, Asada Shrimadham Dasya Daridryam Paramanjanam Alpaupamyena Bhudani Daridra Paramikshade. That means a poor person, he sees everybody else as Alpaupamyena Bhudani. He will see them in the same way as his own soul. That feeling for the other living entities. He mentions like this here in the 10th canto. So some people, poverty is necessary to open their eyes. For Durmadhanasya Daridryam Paramanjanam, he says, that due to a lot of wealth, Kubera's situation was like that, a lot of wealth, and that pride inside of Nalagavira and Manigriva, they had that pride inside. So, for such people, if everything loses from their hand, then they will open their eyes. So, the easiest thing to do with Nalagavira and Manigriva was to put them in this situation. Then everything is over in one stroke, is it not? So this desire for wealth, that's not jadam. It's not jadam. Jadam means dead thing. It's not like dead wood, is it? The desire for money. It has got life in it. Once you develop some desire for money, there is life in there. That it will give life to itself, that desire, and it will keep working inside. That's what mentions here. For example, then normally today what we consider as wealth is this bank notes, isn't it? And you give so much attachment to that wealth, and at the same time, and which we have found this method of buying and selling goods in this world through this monetary system what we have in the modern world. So all those things. Suppose that it's only a media through which you can make transactions in this world. That's all it's worth, isn't it? The money, that paper, bank note, whatever that is. But if it starts controlling us, our life, then it is a very pathetic situation. If that banknote starts controlling our life and controls us in every minute, then we are under its control, and that will be very difficult. So first of all, if you do not take it out from inside, and whatever bhakti, jnanam, all these things what we are trying to develop, they will not have any effect on that, because that bank note is meant for vyavaharam. Money is meant for vyavaharam, because bank note should not do vyavaharam with us. We should use the money for vyavaharam, but no bank money or the money should not use us as a vyavaharam for transactions, in other words. We can use the money, but money cannot use us for any purpose. That's why he mentioned there, Mudajanehi dhanagama trishnam kuru sadbuddhim manasi vitrishnam. And then the next two lines, Yallabhase nija karmobhatam, only for karma. Nija karmobhat, only through karma what is coming. Vittam, tena, vinodaya chittam, only for your householder life what is needed, for that purpose you can use it. Otherwise, it should not get inside more than that in anybody, because then it will end up in problems. So, after saying that, in the next verse he mentioned something that there it was Viteshana, isn't it? Eshanatrayam, out of that Vittam. Vittam was spoken about that. Then after that, in the next verse, he spoke something, Acharya Swami mentions there, that the relationship between man and woman. Relationship between man and woman. And a relationship in the householder life between a husband and wife is a very pure and respectful relationship that is. It is to be like that. That is the way it should be. Pavitram. It's pure. Grihasthashram, the life in the householder life. But what it is spoken here is moham. Nari stanavara nabhidesha drishtva maga mohavesha edan mamsa vasadi vigaram manasi vichindaya varam varam. It is not talking about a dignified householder life. You have to remember that. It is not spoken in that way. What is spoken here is that, like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it mentions Tayor mido hridaya grandhi maho Ato grihakshetra sudatva vidyar janasya mohoya maham mamedi. In the Panchamaskandam 5th canto, you will see this, where Rishabhadev instructing his children. There he mentions there, Tayovedo Hore Grandimahu, that if a relationship is eventually develops into bondage in this material world, if it becomes a cause of bondage, you can see this everywhere, this is happening. Wherever you look, you can find here that is the next verse. It mentions here that these thoughts enters into somebody's mind. Man thinking about women and women thinking about men. And that is the world, isn't it? The world is based on this one very principle. So for a woman, the man's body, and for the man, women's body. That's why he openly put it there. Evan mansa vasadi vigaram. If you want to remove that thought from inside, he says there, Evan mamsa vasadi vikaram manasi vijindaya varam varam, he says there. In other words, mamsa vasadi vikaram, that to know that this body is nothing but a lump of flesh. A lump of flesh. Malamamsa mayam bahuhu nari sanavaram abhidesham. That malamamsa mayam bahuhu. Body, material body is made of all the impure things. Malam, mamsam, flesh and stool and urine and other things. And this attachment to the body should be given up, he mentions. Then, krutva maga mohavesha. Avesham or the moham that comes out from there. So, obviously, these things must have been spoken, seeing somewhere these tendencies among the disciples. He must have spoken due to that. That's the way many people say about this. That all depending on the particular disciple with whom he was instructing this. As I mentioned before, the first 12 verses only Acharya Swamiji has spoken. The remaining Chaturdasha Manjariya which was spoken by the disciples. So this particular one, because it comes in the first 12 verses, he must have seen this weakness in some disciple to talk about it. So, in Srimad Bhagavatam, how does it put it here? Though, just like a spiritual master, when he sees this disciple in a weakness, he should be able to bring him out from that weakness, isn't it, by proper instructions. Just like Bhagavatam says, like in the human society, how this attraction for sense enjoyment is like the flies which get attracted by the fire and they go and see completely affected by the fire or the effulgence or the illumination of the fire, they jump into the fire and they fall in and they die there. Similarly, so what is happening there? The fly that's coming in the rainy season, you will notice this particularly, especially in the hot weather, you will see they come, as soon as they put the lights on, they keep coming. Suppose there is a fire on, they will be very attracted. So there, in a subtle level, Acharya Swami is saying here, what is attraction that fly to come to and to get attracted by this fire? It's the form of the fire, isn't it? Form is the one that is cheating them. The form of the fire, form of the fire. They get attracted by that and they come. Similarly, in a man's case or in a woman's case also, it is nothing but the form that they are getting attracted to. And that is why he says here, you can see getting absorbed in the form. Nama Rupam, Namam Rupam. Rupam means that this is the trouble with the Rupam. Rupam, people get attracted to the Rupam and they get fallen into that situation, that they fall down from that to the Rupam. So you can see in the modern world, everything, the cinemas, the dramas and all the advertisement, everything they exploit the human body, isn't it? Either if they are advertising anything for the women, they will use the male form. And if they are advertising for the men, they will use the female form. In this way, they use the form to capture the attention. And then they get trapped into that. So practically you can see this become a business activity, using the body for that purpose. All these things are very difficult to change in this modern world because it's gone too far in that direction. It has gone too far. Many things, what was not acceptable at one time is completely acceptable now. And it is sometimes very difficult in the family also to bring up young children in that atmosphere. Is very, very difficult. No matter how much you ring fence them with all your spiritual understanding, because 24 hours they are exposed to this culture in this way where everything is based on sense gratification, then naturally they will have that influence and that vasana will be created within them. It will be very difficult to wipe it off. So, because when Acharya Swamiji wrote these verses, these problems didn't exist. What we have to deal with today, it was completely different. That in his times, if you read the books, when his life and times, you will see that practically they followed the Varnashrama system, and the society had certain fear about the way a society should function. They had that certain principles like that. In the modern world, it is very difficult to say anything, isn't it? Whatever you say, you will be in trouble. If you start bringing morality into the modern world, you will be making a fool of yourself. The people will not accept it because it is all based on lobbying, and it's also based on when you see sometimes what happens, the very people who are administering, when they are subjected to such weaknesses, and then with their influences how the society gets also not get the right direction to live, it is pointless discussing that part at all. In the modern world it is absolutely no use talking about it, sitting here and discussing about it, because we cannot control that anymore. It has gone too far. So let that go in its own way. There is no point in thinking about it. But a living entity's duty is to think how to escape from this situation. That's all you can think today. Instead of trying to change the world, thinking that the world is going to change and it's going to act in a proper way, you can forget that. That's not going to happen. So, and that's why you cannot change the world. World has its own chopped out way, and if you start thinking that world will change and everything will change, that will be a greatest illusion also. We have to escape from here. That's all you can do. So, therefore, these verses when you read, you have to read it in this way, relating with the present world where we are living today. Because what is there in the body, that is the meat and the flesh, the skin, the blood and other things. And so at some point you can see, analyzing one's own body, we know very well what is inside this body, isn't it? It is not very, attachment to the body has developed, but at the same time, we all try to think that our body is pure and clean, but this is something which you cannot clean up inside. Because all the ingredients with which this body has been made itself is impure, is it not? Like the blood, the flesh, and all other ingredients, whatever it is there. So, Mamsavasadi Vigaram, Manasi Vichintaya Varam Varam. He says, you should continuously in your own mind think about this body in that way, that this body is like that. It's impure. And it is not meant for any kind of respect. This body doesn't deserve anything because it is. In this way one should analyze and one should remove that attachment to the body in that way from inside. Attachment to another body from inside. One has to remove it. Opportunities Krishna gives us in life in different ways. When people get sick, then all ideas of enjoyment, sense enjoyment goes away from the mind, isn't it? So many opportunities comes, and Krishna Shastras are also telling us how to look at our own body. This body is nothing but it's a bag of so many impure elements, impure ingredients, all packaged together nicely and put a good wrapper. Just like when you fly off from the airport, they have a place there where you wrap up everything nicely in the plastic, isn't it? So that it goes through well. So similarly, the whole thing is wrapped up with a nice skin. And that's what it is done there. And we are expecting that everything is wonderful inside, but it's only the packaging is good. Inside the ingredients are not very good to look at, isn't it? So, Mamsavasarthavikaram Manasinichinde Varam Varam. I is saying here, analyzing the body and its ingredients, one should come out of this attachment to the body. Naristhanavaram Adhidesha Drishtwamaga Mohavesha Edan Mamsavasadi Vikaram Manasivichindaya Varam Varam. And day after day, the problems of this body and the impure state of this body, we should teach the mind every day, and also teach the mind how these impurities will create distress later in life. And if the mind is pulling back from sense enjoyment in that way, let it happen so. If it doesn't happen, ultimately, or maybe at the old age it may go away. At the old age it may go away. But vasana won't go. You may not be able to do anything at the old age, but vasanas still will not go. They will be inside. Although old age comes and you may not be able to enjoy anymore, that Krishnaiva Tarunayate, the desires have not left from inside. Bhartrahari says this in his Vairagya Shalakam. He says, in the Yovanam, in the youth, the Trishna or the desire stays. Bhartrahari says that he also, Bhartrahari, criticizes all the poets as well. The poets have done a great damage. What they have done is that he says here that this material body, which is made of, in a nice way, when you say 5 material elements, that's one thing. But in Bhartrahari's way, he is saying is that this body is made of all the impure things, like stool, urine, flesh, blood, and mucus, and so many things which one would not even like to touch. Such things have been used to make this body, Bhartrahari says, the poets, what they have done, they have started glorifying this body, isn't it? So many books written about the beauty of the women and beauty of the men, and all the novels and all the stories that's been written about beauty of the personalities and how beautiful everybody was. So Bhartrhari criticizes them and says that these poets have done a great damage to this world, because simply by writing poetry about the beauty of this body, they have actually poisoned the mind of so many people. And he even criticizes Kalidasa for that. Kalidasa is the greatest poet in the Sanskrit literature. Even he has been criticized by Bhartrhari for saying so. That glorifying, because poets have one nature, when they have to describe the beauty of women's body or men's body, they will go verse after verse after verse talking about that. So Bhartrhari says that all that they have done by doing that is simply unnecessarily. They have poets, due to their poetic ability, they have created the greatest damage and given the impression in the people's mind that body is something to be worshipped or something to be admired. From spiritual viewpoint, it is bad. It is bad to glorify the body, its beauty. All these things are not considered good from the spiritual point of view, because for one who is seeking for freedom from this body, one who is seeking for freedom from the mind, freedom from the intelligence, for him, body is not something which is particularly of any worth of admiration or any worship. So he says here that asatha, because body is asatha, that we have to remember all the time. Kavijana vishayeshehi bahupradam stano mamsagrandhi. Like in so many places you will see, while describing about the beauty of the great gods and goddesses, Radharani, Sri Parvati, Mahalakshmi, and many others like that, they will keep on worshipping about the beauty of that form. Bhartrhari says that was not necessary to, because it does create the difficulty also. And also in the novels and other literature, isn't it? So much literature, in every language in the world, it's all love story, isn't it? Attraction for, or love and bodily attraction each other. So, but what they are glorifying is Jadavastu. Jadam it is, isn't it? Doesn't matter. This material body is Jadavastu. So, Jadavastu they keep on glorifying every time. And ultimately, he says here, it poisons the mind of the human society. And in the Bhagavatam, you will see, out of the 24 spiritual masters, Dattatreya Maharshi, while walking around, he talks about one or two spiritual masters, how they have got victimized by that. And one of them, he says, is the deer. Deer problem is that deer, as soon as good music is played, deer gets captivated by that, for the music. So the hunter, when they want to catch the deer, they play good music. And that attraction of the music, immediately when they hear that, deer loses all their senses, all focused on the music. At that time, the hunters hunt them and capture them in that way. Similarly, so the deer, it is the sound. All the five senses in the body has its own weaknesses also. Deer is captivated by the sound. The fly, the bee, is captivated by the form, just like we saw before, that how the bees they come, or the flies they come, and they see by the form of the fire, they go and jump into it, attracted by that form. And they jump into it, and they fall, and they die. And similarly, elephant has got its weakness, sparsha, touch, isn't it? That is how elephants are captured. If you probably may have read this, how they capture the elephants. When they want to capture the elephants, they send the she-elephants first. And when they send the she-elephants, the male elephants get attracted by the touch of the female elephant. Sparsham, that is their weakness. And that is how they capture the elephants. So, there, because of all these five different ways, five senses are captivated by that, Bhartrhari is saying like this, that in that way we will forget Krishna. We will forget Krishna. That is all the intention behind it. So it is only with that intention that verse is written. Nari Stanavara Nabhidesha Drishtwamaga Mohavesha Egan Mansa Vasadi Vikaram Manasi Vichinde Varam Varam. Not with the idea not with intention is not to completely condemn anyone for that matter. That's not the idea behind it. Reason is that when the senses get victimized by that, by form, by sound or by touch, any of them, if it gets victimized, you will forget Krishna. Krishna consciousness will be gone. That is why it is to be taken notice of. Only in that intention that verse was spoken. So knowing very well and analyzing this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in many instances Krishna has spoken about this. Ekadasha Skandam and in other places also. So reading them and understanding the danger involved by this association, like in this way, Krishna is saying to us that it will take you away. How does he put it? If you look in Ekadasha Skandam, you will see there. Strinam, Sanginam, Sangam, Tektva, Durada, Almavan. One who wants to go progress in the spiritual life, he has to give up this. What is that? Strinam, Sanginam, Sangam, Tektva, Durada, Almavan. He said, Almavan means one who wants to progress on the path of spiritual life. He will mention this somewhere in the it is in the chapter 14. Chapter 14, verse 29. 2 or 3 verses he talks about. 29 he says, Strinam, Sanginam, Sangam, Tektva, Durada, Almavan, Shene, Vimittam, Asinam, Shindayen, Mam, Atandridaha. He says there that one who has given up the association, this applies to both for man and woman. For men it is women, for women it is man, the opposite way, that's all. Association with women and those who are attached to women. He says here, one should give up that association and with courage and strength stay in solitude and always be absorbed in me, Krishna says there. Though this is talking about meditation, Krishna is saying like this. And in the next verse he says, Nathasya bhavet klesho vandasyanya prasangadaha Yoshil Sangadyana Pumso Yatha Talsangya Sangadaha. One interesting thing you note there, that for a man, the problem what he is going to create for himself due to association with women and also due to the association with those men who are talking about women. That is more dangerous as far as Krishna is concerned. More dangerous than women is in the association of men who talk about women. He says here, Nathasya bhavet klesho bandhaschanya prasangada yoshil sangadyada pumso yatha talsangi sangadaha. Yatha talsangi sangadaha. Those who are attached to that way of life and their association will do more damage to us than those with the association with women itself. It is more damaging. That's how Bhagavatam talks about that. And there are other places also Krishna mentions about the same things which we have gone through before. If you look into verse chapter 17, again Krishna brings that. He says, Kudumbesho na sajjeda pramadiyega kudumbyavi, verse 52. Vibhaschil nashvaram pashil adrishtam abhidrishtava. Purpradharaptadandhulam Sangamapantha Sangamaha Anudeham Diyande Swapno Nidrani Goyatham Itham Parivashan Mukte Griheshu Adhidivadvasan Nagrihe Anubadhyega Narmamo Niraham Krada Aho me Pitaro Vruddho Balalmajalmaya Anadham Amrde Dina Katham Jivanti Dukkhidah Yasto asaktamanjargehi praniteshanadura straina kripanadhi mudho mamaham idibadhyate. Now, when you read these verses in the Ekadasha Skandam, when Krishna is saying, you have to remember also, it is this personality who had 16,108 wives. And people will always say like, oh, Krishna can say all these things to us. But look at how Krishna was living. That's how people will ask this question. This is where all the problem starts. When we start seeing Krishna like that, not understanding who Krishna is, what has Krishna spoken about that? That the Srimad Bhagavatam and after 16,108 wives, plus all that Krishna's relationship with the gopis, people started thinking that Krishna is not the person who should not be talking about these things. That's it. But this is where we have not understood Krishna properly. That's where the problem has started from there. That all great acharyas, devotees, great sages, rishis, personalities, all of them has glorified Krishna on this. This is why he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why he is the absolute truth? For this reason only. That no matter what happens in this world, Krishna's state is always that state of untouched by the karma, untouched by anything in the world. Whatever that happens here is never goes inside. That was that strength in Krishna. When Parikshit raised this question after the rasa dance to Shri Brahmashi says to him that don't you think that what Krishna has done is something what immoral? Was it proper for Krishna's part to behave in this way? He said that isn't it? If you look into the verse number in the after 33, chapter 33, how Parikshit asked this question. Parikshit has asked this question, not anybody else. Parikshit himself has asked this question to Krishna. Sorry, to Shri Brahmashi. He asked this question. If you look into verse chapter number 33. If you look at 33 verse 27, that's the question from Parikshit. Parikshit is asking, Samsthavanaya dharmasya prashamayedasya cha avadirno hi bhagavan amshena jagadi ishvara. He says, for establishing religious principles and to destroy religious activities, Krishna has appeared in this world being requested by Lord Brahma and many others. Sakatham dharma setunam varta karma abhinakshiraha pradipam acharil brahman paradara bhimarshanam. That person who is supposed to maintain these principles in this world and to protect dharma, religious principles, how come he went and associated with the gopis in this way? Gopis were, most of them were married women. How did he associate with them? How did he commit this very gross sinful activity? Asks who? Parikshit is asking to Shri Brahmashi. Aptagamo yaduvadi kritavanvai jugupsidam kim abhiprayam enam samshayam chindisu pragaha. That Krishna, as far as I know, he has no desires inside. He is aptagama, isn't he? One who has no desires, completely full all the time. No desires at all. Then still why did he do this? This was the question. Can you clarify that point? Look at what Sukadeva Goswami's reply at that time. He says, Dharma vedikramo drishta ishwaranam jasahasam tejiyasam na doshaya vanne sarvabhujo yatha. That Shri Brahmashi says there that Dharma vedikramo drishta ishwaranam jasahasam. Very great personalities, when they do something, it may appear that they are breaking the rules of morals of this world, morality in this world. It may appear like that they have done like that. But Tejiyasamna doshaya, we in our position, we are not allowed to look at them in that way. Why? Vanne sarvabhujo yathaha. The things they are capable of doing, we can't do that. So they are not under the same morals what we are put into. We don't have the capacity of things what they can do. Vanne sarvabhujo yatha. That's what it says here. That the tejiyasana doshaya, to see fault in them is our mistake. we are not allowed to do. These are principles. Why Shuka Brahmashi is saying this to us? So that when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, our mind does not come in and start bringing all the logic and reasoning from our side. So, in order to explain, Naidat Samachare Jadu Manasami Anishwaya Vinashyati Ajaran Maudhyal Yadha Rudro Abdijam Visham. One who doesn't have that Tejasa. Tejasa means the personality of Shiva, Lord Shiva or Krishna. Their personality is different. They have that Tejasa in them. Tejasa means, to explain it better, that they can do things but completely unaffected by the reaction from that. They will only be affected by that. That is that Tejasa in them. They can do so many things. For example, while churning the milk ocean was happening, Kalakuda Visham came out from the churning, isn't it? Poison came out from there. And everybody knew if that poison has dropped in the creation, it would have destroyed everything. At that time, all the demigods approached the Lord Shiva and asked him what we should do. Shiva took the whole thing into the hand and made into a very few drops inside in the hand and asked Sri Parvati, I am going to take it. Saying this, he took it inside. And it came and Sri Parvati put the hand on Lord Shiva's throat and held it. And that's why he got the name as Nilakantha. What was got the bluish color on the throat, the poison didn't go further down. And that way she protected him from the effect of the poison. So personalities like Shiva can do that. So when such things, when they can do, that's what he mentions here, that Edha Rudro Abdijam Visham, that he can consume poison. So when he does something, we cannot question that because their position is like that. Then, therefore, Shuka Brahmashi gives to us one instruction. What is that? Verse 32. Ishwaranam Bhaja Satyam. Ishwaranam Bhaja Satyam. Great personality. What they do, we have no authority to question. What they say to us, our duty is to follow. We should not study Bhagavad Gita after evaluating Krishna. No. Krishna is Supreme Personality. He can speak to us and we have to listen to it. We shouldn't estimate and start scrutinizing Krishna's activities. It will not get anywhere. Ishwarana Vacham Satyam, he says. Always what they say to us, we have to listen. What they speak is the truth. Tadhaiv Acharitam Kvachit. But sometimes some of the things what they do, you have to not to give attention to it. Tadhaiva Acharitam Kvachit. Sometimes some of the things what they do, you don't have to give any, you don't have to study it and scrutinize it in your own way. That's not necessary. That's what Shuka Brahmashi is telling us. Tesha yet savacho yuktam buddhimam tal samacharel. Intelligent person, he says here, that he should always follow their instructions and not their actions. Not to follow their actions, but to follow their instructions. So, in the similar way, you can see here also that these things are spoken, these are instructions to us. Acharyas and the devotees are saying to us that do these things is necessary, provided if you want to progress on the path of spiritual life. Then only it is possible, otherwise it is not possible. Why do they say to us this? Because we know from all these relationships, eventually distress will come. There is no question about that. Every relationship in this world, eventually will lead into distress. So, in order that such a distress should not come in life and destroy our life in this world, they are warning us that these are the pitfalls. If you take notice of it, you won't suffer from this problem. Stri sanginam sangam tektva durada almavan. Otherwise, why Krishna has to say? Krishna is not keeping any distance from the women. Because Krishna won't be affected by that. Whereas we will be affected by it. That is why. Because Krishna knows that we will suffer from that. Our spiritual life will be affected by that. We won't make any spiritual progress. Therefore, Krishna spoke this to Uddhava to tell us. Strinam, Stri Sanginam Sangam, Tektva Durad Alma, and all those verses. There are many verses in the Ekadasha Skandam. Not only that, finally Krishna brings in the Srimad Bhagavatam a personality to tell us how he destroyed his life by doing that. Who? His own ancestor, from whom the lunar dynasty started the life of Pururavas. Remember that story? Pururavas, we have not come to that yet. In the Bhagavatam, Ekadasha Skandam, there is a history of Pururavas. Pururavas was a very, very famous personality. In lunar dynasty begins with Pururavas. Lunar dynasty begins with Pururavas. Pururavas was an extremely beautiful person, a very powerful personality, a king. And went to the heavenly planets and fought the war there, like our Khatwanga and Muchukunta and others. Similarly, he also had a relationship with the heavenly planets. It so happened that Pururavas was captivated by Urvashi's beauty. So somehow or the other, Urvashi normally won't come to this world. For the people in the heavenly planets, we are like worms in the stool. That's how they see us. Here we have all these upper, lower classes and all, the middle class, working class and all that we see here. As far as they are concerned, we all belong to the lower class. The people in the heavenly, they look upon us in that way. They are not giving any much of a credibility to us. So when Urvashi got cursed, and she was cursed, the curse was this, that she had to come and live in this planet for a while. That was the curse given to her. Urvashi was hesitant to come here. Because she said, with whom shall I live with? Where do I go? Whom should I meet? And as far as Urvashi is concerned, none of the people in this world was good for her to be as a husband or to live in this planet. So she refused to come. But eventually, when Pururavas went there, Pururavas, seeing Urvashi's beauty, Pururavas wanted to marry her. So Urvashi also thought, anyway I have to go to this planet due to this curse. I will spend those years with Pururavas. And they lived together here in this world. And finally, when the time of the curse was over, she wanted to go back to her planet. She comes from the Indra's planet, isn't it? From the heavenly planets. She wanted to go back. Pururavas started crying, you are leaving me after all so many years we have lived together. This, you know the usual songs that sung at that time, that was all sung. And Urvashi says that it is your mistake, it's not my mistake. I have come here to finish up my curse, now I am on my way back. Why do I have to bother about your problems? He said, when Pururavas was singing around and walking around, at that time, Pururavas sang a song which Krishna kept it inside and sang that song to Uddhava. And that is known as Aila. Another name for Pururavas is Aila. Aila means he is the son of Ila. Who is this Ila? Ila is Pururavas' mother. And who is that Ila? Ula is Buddha. Planet Buddha, the personified deity of the predominant deity of the Buddha. Planet Buddha. Mercury. That story is there in the 9th canto. Another story of another Prarabdha there. That poor man, he came and he had to once it so happened, it is in the 9th canto of that story, if you read, you will see how Prarabdham, how strong it is, what happened in his life. Buddha was born, that as, if you look into the 9th canto, you will see there, that story you can read through, that the first chapter in the 9th canto, that's how it begins, the 9th canto. Sudyumna and Ila, there he mentions there that that is the Ishana Chayam, that means the parampara of the lunar dynasty, how it begins from there. That once it so happened, the king, that Ikshwaku and all others comes in that parampara, and there Shri Parvati and Shiva who lives in Ilavada Varsham, Shri Parvati and Lord Shiva lives. If you look in the 5th canto, you will see there. That's their place. They live there. So once when Shri Parvati was with the Lord Shiva and she was naked, at that time some sages came to see Lord Shiva there. Some sages came to see, great personalities came to see Lord Shiva. They get instructed in transcendental knowledge from Lord Shiva. So at that time, Shri Parvati was naked and she was sitting on Lord Shiva's lap. And at that point, when Shivavati felt very unhappy about it, that incident, and she took the clothes and covered herself, and Shivavati and Lord Shiva, seeing their attachment, the rishis who came there, without saying one word, they quietly walked out from there at that point. At that time, in order to please Shivavati, Lord Shiva said, anyone who comes to this place, they will be turned into woman's body. They will be turned into women's body. This was a benediction given to Shivavati's request. Lord Shiva said that she will be turned into women's body. So what happened was, Vasishtha Maharshi, he had, for Vaivasudha Manu, he was Shardadeva, what was his name? Yeah. Shardadeva was his name. And he had these 10 children, Ikshvaku, Nragan, the names are mentioned there. And all these children were born for Shardadeva. But before they were born, this Shardadeva, Vaivasudha Manu, he wanted to have children. So he was going to perform a sacrifice. And the personalities whom they were invited for that was Mitravarna. Mitravarna were the personalities. So Manu's wife, Shraddha, she has at that time that both husband and the wife and Vasishtha Maharshi had to perform the sacrifice. And they were trying to please Mitravarna to have a child. So the day of sacrifice came, and the night before that, the Brahmanas who were present there, they had chanted all the mantras, and there was a pot of water which was kept after the mantra was chanted, which was to be offered in the next day. Due to some prarabdham on that night, before that, something more happened, that the king, Manu, wanted to have a son. The wife also wanted to have a daughter. And they didn't talk to each other about it. Shraddha, she went and told the priests that I want a daughter, accordingly you have to chant the mantra on that basis. And the king was thinking that this whole thing is performed for the sake of having a son. But they didn't talk to each other. And so therefore, when the sacrifice was completed, when the child was born, it happened to be a girl. It happened to be a girl. Now, when it was a girl, the king gods started thinking, have we lost the potency of chanting the mantra? He says to the priests who are chanting at that time. So they say to him, the king said, the Vasishtha said, no, we were requested by the queen to have a girl, so accordingly we have chanted this mantra. That says. So then Vasishtha Maharshi says, if it is want to have a boy, then this girl, we can change her into a boy's body. So he worships to Lord Shiva. Vasishtha goes to Lord Shiva and talks to him. Lord Shiva agrees that he can be changed. And so given agreement, for 6 months he will be a boy, for 6 months he will be a girl. I don't know in which category he will fall now. In the present we have got Tritiya Prakriti and third gender and all that, isn't it? So where he will fall now. So 6 months he is one category, 6 months is the other category. But again, when he is 6 months in the male body, he goes for hunting because he is a prince, isn't it? And it ends up in this Lavata Varsham where Lord Shiva and Shivavati goes there. He gets turned into a girl's body again there. Including the horse he was riding became a female horse. So again the problem started. So Lord Shiva says, alright, all I can offer you is that 6 months he can go as a prince and stay there, and 6 months he has to be a married wife to somebody. So all this prarabdham for that person happened. And his name was Buddha, Ila. So this Ila, when she was in the female body, she got attracted to the moon, Chandra. And from Chandra, the baby was born. And that is this Pururavas. And that Pururavas was very beautiful. In the Bhagavatam it says like this about Pururavas, because his birth itself was not very auspicious, was it? Because of all these complications. But that personality, Buddha, he was very intelligent. That when all these things happen, he says, this is my prarabdham. There is some prarabdham in me to go through this male body, female body, back and forth. Ultimately, he gives up everything, goes to the forest, engages in spiritual life and escaped from here and left this world. So that indication there. So Krishna is also mentions this in the you can see here that so much warning in the Srimad Bhagavatam against this attraction between man and woman, because for advancement in spiritual path it is the greatest hurdle. This attraction, it is the greatest hurdle, and therefore so much warning about it. We'll discuss it next Sunday. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.